Minecraft portal. But is it a national proxy? Chapter 41. The heat of discussion hit its climax with a single comment. I don't care about anything else, just lower the price of electricity so my grandma will dare to turn on the AC in a sweltering 38-degree summer. This seemingly plain remark unlocked the softest switch in countless hearts. In an instant, the like count rocketed skyward. 100,000. 500,000. 1 million. Netizens forced it to the very top of every comment section. Even more unexpectedly, beneath that comment, the official account of China's National Energy Administration showed up, clicked like, and left a brief, thunderous reply. It will. These two words crushed every doubt with the weight of a mountain. Yet, even in utter defeat, the paid trolls refused to quit. Ha ha ha, fools, think manna falls from the sky. Didn't you see the news? China's quietly dumping gold across the globe. They're robbing Peter to pay Paul, selling ancestral assets just to keep you breathing a little longer. Command Center. The online uproar outside couldn't reach here. Zhang Zhongguo stared at the screen, the towering zombie rampaging there, and his gaze turned ice cold. Go. He issued an unquestionable order to the combat staff officer beside him. Pull 1DF-17 from stock, lock it on target, if conventional fire can't kill it, blast it with that. Yes, sir. The officer hurried off to ready a weapon that could erase a city. Over the battlefield, 36 armed choppers of divine punishment had arrived first. Sky hunters, they launched probing strikes at the Colossus. Open fire. Howling rockets trailed flames, raining down and smashing into the zombie's rock-like body. Boom. 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 Blasts swallowed it in fire and smoke. When the haze lifted, it still stood, only sporting a few scorch marks of no consequence. Right then, the ground shook. On the horizon, hundreds of main battle tanks formed a steel torrent, racing at a terrifying speed belying their bulk. Refitted with nuclear power, these kings of land cast off old engines and became cheetahs of the plain. All units, lock and fire. Steel clashed with flesh in primordial, brutal aesthetics. A simultaneous barrage from hundreds of nuclear-powered MBTs slammed like iron fists into the giant zombie's frame. Yet the armor-piercing shells that could flatten a hill only sparked and left shallow dents. Divine punishment in the sky emptied its rocket pods, still failing to wound the monster. On the other side of this artillery-lit field, half-collapsed high-rise rubble. Several figures spied from behind broken walls. They were the squad brother long sent to scout. Brother who, that's a peak tier 3 tyrant. A young scout, seeing the shell-proof giant, trembled in fear. The one called brother who was a wiry second tier awakened with speed powers. He raised high-power military binoculars, face grave. Tanks, gunships. He lowered them, a cold smirk mixing dread with mockery. Looks like the official survivor base, military boys. He knew only the army could field such heavy gear in this apocalypse. Military. A teammate's eyes flashed with greed. Then their supplies must be huge. So what? Brother who sneered. These brass hats must have peacocked too long, their brains rusted. Trying to kill a peak tier 3 tyrant with those toy tanks. He recalled a battle half a year earlier. A mere ordinary 3rd tier zombie had massacred several allied bases. Only a half step to 4th tier expert, at the cost of an arm, finally killed it. And this tyrant's aura was clearly stronger. It even brushed the threshold of the 4th tier. Idiots. Brother who shook his head, ready to retreat and report. Yet his gaze caught tall, odd black figures setting up a perimeter. What are those? He trained his binoculars on one. A creature pitch black, eerily slender, eyes glowing violet under the gloomy sky. Just as he zoomed in for a clearer look, change struck. Through the powerful lens his eyes met a pair of violet ones. In an instant, an indescribable, soul-piercing cold malice enveloped him. He saw that black being, hundreds of meters away, snap its bizarre head and lock onto him across the distance. An Enderman's passive trigger had fired. Crap. Killer dread exploded in Brother Who. He hurled the binoculars and spun to sprint. But as he turned, lightning struck his heart. He froze. Behind him, beside him, on every escape route, silent tall black forms emerged from the shadows. They were already surrounded. Dozens of eyes burning with purple flames flared to life in the gloomy ruins. Run! Brother Monkey let out a hoarse, frantic roar. Reporting to HQ, unidentified local human survivors detected near the battlefield. The Shadow Blade unit's report shot straight back to the command center. Yi Tian's eyes narrowed, he issued the order at once. Take them alive, I want to know everything about this world. He knew the fastest way to understand an unfamiliar world was never to fumble around, but to interrogate the locals directly. A panel on the main screen immediately split off, switching to the viewpoint of those scouts now fleeing for their lives. They moved far faster than ordinary humans, vaulting through the rubble, clearly all awakened ones. Looks like the humans of this world really have started down the path of evolution. Zhang Zhongguo studied the feat and spoke in a low voice. Otherwise, the aftershocks from that zombie fight alone would have shaken them to death. Getting this close means they definitely have some strength. On the battlefield, Brother Monkey and several teammates were already pushing their speed abilities to the limit. What the hell is that thing? I've never seen anything like it, some new type of zombie. One member sprinted while shouting in terror. Brother Monkey didn't answer, his heart was racing. Just then, from the corner of his eye he saw a black figure chasing close beside him suddenly dissolve into a puff of purple smoke. The next second, swoosh, that figure reappeared out of nowhere directly ahead, blocking his path. Close quarters combat. A seasoned second order awakened. Brother Monkey, though shocked by the ghost-like ability, reacted instantly. With a savage grin he yanked a bizarre, high-tech bone pistol from his waist. Looking to die. Buzz. Pale blue energy began to gather crazily at the muzzle. He had absolute faith in this energy disintegrator gun he'd nearly died to obtain. Even a third-rank mutant's defenses couldn't stop one shot. Die, monster. A blue beam as thick as an arm shot out, carrying an aura that could decompose anything. Yet the Shadow Blade warrior in its path didn't dodge. On a face that couldn't show expression, something like mockery appeared. A ranged weapon, against me. The next moment, Brother Monkey's worldview collapsed. The beam that could melt steel struck the warrior. No explosion, no impact, not even a sound. It simply passed straight through. As if the black monster weren't solid matter but a phantom from another dimension. No, impossible. Sorry, the mechanics are coded this way. His mind blanked for a full second at the sight. Yet years of apocalyptic survival instincts kicked in, he recovered in an instant. Whatever the hell you are. He roared, a fierce glint in his eyes. If energy wouldn't work, he'd try the most primitive physical strike. He tossed the energy gun, crouched slightly, coiling the muscles in his legs. I'm a second order awakened. No way I lose to a monster in a brawl. Boom. The ground under him exploded. He turned into a blur, covering dozens of meters in a flash, already in front of the Shadow Blade warrior. His fist, wrapped in a howling gale, smashed toward the warrior's head. But drawing on their earlier fight with the mutated zombie, the Shadow Blade unit had devised a whole new tactic against speed-type foes. The instant before Brother Monkey's fist would land, the warrior vanished. At the same time, non-speed specialists of the surrounding Shadow Blade members closed in from every side. Looking to die. His punch missed. Brother Monkey cursed inwardly but stayed calm. His teammates unleashed their abilities in unison. A burly man opened his mouth and spat a blazing fire dragon that whipped like a fiery lash toward one warrior. Another slapped both palms on the ground. Dozens of sharp stone spikes burst upward at the Enderman. Flame, spikes, every sort of exotic ability bloomed in brilliant light across the ruins. Thinking this surprise eruption had forced the monsters back, the survivors prepared to escape. When a dense, scalp-numbing buzz suddenly sounded overhead. Startled, they looked up. The next instant, every face turned ashen with dread. Above them, the sky had turned black with a swarm of fist-sized drones. Well over 100,000 of them. The cloud of drones blotted out the sun, casting a vast shadow on the ground. The moment local humans were detected, Yi Tian ordered the hive system deployed at the outpost base straight to the area. With the engineering Enderman's terrifying transport capacity, personnel and equipment could reach any corner of the battlefield in the shortest possible time. While the survivors gaped at the drone swarm, a flat, electronically synthesized voice rang out from every direction. Attention below. You are surrounded. Drop your weapons and raise your hands immediately. Otherwise, indiscriminate saturation strike will commence. staring at the tens of thousands of black muzzles overhead and feeling the cold killing intent that could tear them apart at any instant. Brother Monkey, fierce moments ago, went deathly pale. He was the first to fling his hands high. I surrender. Don't shoot, I surrender. The power of example is endless. Seeing this, the rest of the squad also tossed their weapons aside and raised their hands in defeat. An Enderman teleported in front of Brother Monkey, its violet eyes calmly fixed on him. Move. Two emotionless syllables came clearly from a mouth that should never have been able to speak. Brother Monkey was utterly stunned. You can talk. What kind of monsters are you? Command Center. Watching the survivors already under full control on the screen, ETN issued new orders at once. Tell engineering to throw up a separate, obsidian-built temporary interrogation room outside the base, now. He was being thorough. Who knew what bizarre abilities these apocalypse survivors might still be hiding? If they got inside the base and took some important villager scientist hostage, casualties might be avoidable, but it would still be a headache. Isolating them was safest. After all, there wasn't a single real human in the base. If anyone were taken hostage, he could simply order a self-destruct and respawn a few days later. Engineering worked fast. Almost the instant the order dropped, hundreds of engineering Endermen outside the zombie world outpost base swarmed like busy bees, hugging slabs of indestructible obsidian as they began madly printing. Teleport, place, teleport again, place. Within minutes a pitch-black obsidian cage shot up from the ground, leaving only a 3-meter gap at the entrance. Several warriors unceremoniously hauled Monkey and his terrified teammates to their feet. Next moment, Monkey felt the world blur into shards. A violent spatial wrench set his stomach churning. He couldn't teleport himself, but in the apocalypse he'd heard that only the rarest, most powerful awakened ones might ever manifest spatial abilities. Yet now, he watched his teammates flickering through violet smoke, and those expressionless black monsters. All these monsters can actually space shift. A thought that made his very soul shudder surged through him. What kind of terrifying beings were they? Before the shock could wear off, the chain of jumps ended. When his feet touched solid ground again he stood in front of a pitch-black, oppressive, bizarrely blocky structure. What is this? A house? How can it be so perfectly square? Monkey and his companions stared at the unreal building assembled from flawless black cubes, utterly bewildered. Behind them, on the distant skyline, the giant zombie called Tyrant was still locked in brutal combat with the endless steel torrent, the rumble of artillery echoing faintly. Inside, the warriors gave them no time to think, shoving them roughly into the obsidian interrogation chamber. Once all were in, several Endermen lugged huge obsidian blocks and slammed them shut, sealing the only exit tight. Hey, what are you doing? Why block the door? A scout shouted in panic. The Enderman blocking the door answered coldly without turning. To keep you from running. After that, it ignored them. Inside, the room blazed with light. Monkey and the others were split into separate cells, the walls bristled with cameras and sensors he couldn't even identify, recording every move. Unease grew in his heart. To command such vast tech and those terrifying monsters, whoever stood behind them was far beyond his imagination. Soon 2 Shadow Blade warriors entered, sat at the table across from him, and locked him in their violet gaze. The interrogation began. Name. A voice devoid of feeling cut through the silent room. Xin Yu. Monkey swallowed and answered honestly. Out there everyone calls me Monkey. The Shadow Blade warrior ignored the nickname and continued mechanically. Where are you from and which faction do you belong to? Monkey hesitated. But under those violet stares he gave up resisting. He knew lies were pointless against such overwhelming power. If they could capture them alive, they could just as easily kill them. I'm from the Wind Grit survivor base. Purpose of coming here. There was a huge energy surge here earlier. Our boss brother Long sent us to check it out. In the command center, Yi Tian listened to the simultaneous translation and understood. So the commotion from that earlier thermobaric bomb bombardment had finally drawn the local snakes out of their holes. Inside the interrogation room, the next question stunned Monkey. Tell us how the zombie outbreak in this world began. What? Monkey jerked his head up, disbelief written across his face. What had they just asked? How the zombies started? To someone who'd struggled through a decade in this apocalypse, it sounded as absurd as asking a modern man, why do you eat? It was common knowledge carved into everyone's bones. And they didn't know. Coupled with their unheard of army, unseen black monsters, and tech that felt almost obsolete in the apocalypse, a terrifying idea that shattered his worldview formed in his mind. Who are you people? He blurted. You're not from this world, are you? A tidal wave of dread surged inside him. Yet the Shadow Blade warrior merely regarded him coolly, voice still icy. I ask, you answer. Not the other way round. No denial. They hadn't denied it. That silent admission crushed every last shred of hope in Monkey's heart. It was over. He could already see his future. He'd likely become their living dictionary on this world. And to keep that secret, they would absolutely never let him go. At that thought, the last flicker of resistance in Monkey's eyes died, replaced by deep helplessness and despair. He slumped against the back of the chair and told everything he knew. 50 years ago, a colossal meteorite fell from the sky and slammed into the center of the continent. Scientific institutions around the world flocked to study it. But no one realized the meteorite carried a cosmic energy we can't comprehend. That energy spread across the planet from the impact crater. The first people who couldn't endure the exposure became the initial wave of zombies. The world's order collapsed overnight. At first, armies and weapons held them back easily. But later, for reasons unknown, the zombies kept growing stronger, evolving. In the interrogation room, Monkey's voice, filled with despair and numbness, echoed slowly. As the zombies evolved, modern military tech lost its bite. Ordinary guns couldn't even pierce a first-rank mutated zombie's hide. Some humans also absorbed that mysterious energy, yet instead of turning into zombies they became awakened ones. Afterward, we discovered that powerful mutated zombies drop special energy crystals when killed. Those energy crystals can be absorbed directly by us awakened to strengthen ourselves. Anyone who absorbs a crystal first will never turn into a zombie, no matter how much energy they take in later. Gradually, led by powerful awakened, humanity built survivor bases of every size and gained a shaky foothold in the apocalypse. Across from him, the Shadow Blade warrior relayed every word in real time through an encrypted channel back to the command center. Each syllable was logged and analyzed with precision. What is your current power scale? And the greatest destructive force you've seen? The Shadow Blade warrior asked in a tone devoid of emotion. Hearing the question, Monkey's last shred of hope crumbled. All his earlier guesses were confirmed in that instant. The mysterious, mighty beings opposite him definitely weren't from this world. He drew a deep breath, abandoned all resistance, and began to explain in detail. After Awakened appeared, we ranked strength from 1st to 5th rank. But the strongest person I've ever met was only 4th rank. Describe the destructive power of each rank. The Shadow Blade warrior pressed. Also, what rank are you? I'm a 2nd rank speed type awakened. Monkey answered honestly. We treat mindless, wandering zombies as rank 0. 1st rank variants start to show different abilities. Some gain immense strength, others tough hides, overall they're still manageable with heavy machine guns. At 2nd rank, both zombies and awakened improve massively in every aspect. Take me, my speed far exceeds an ordinary person's, and a 2nd rank defense type zombie can shrug off most gunfire. At 3rd rank, when he reached this point, terror flashed in Monkey's eyes. 3rd rank is a qualitative leap. Strength, speed, and defense reach terrifying levels, shrugging off several small missiles is effortless. As for 4th rank, I really don't know. All I know is that the tyrant you're fighting is a peak 3rd rank just a step away from 4th. Ordinary missiles barely scratch it. Missiles can only deal a bit of damage. Yi Tian frowned at the screen where the tyrant was tanking tank shells yet still rampaging. That's strong. Zhang Zhongguo's face was equally grave. He thought of the DF-17 he'd just ordered deployed. So our tactical missile might not be decisive after all. Not necessarily. Yi Tian shook his head, eyes calm and rational. He only said ordinary missiles, and noted, some damage, not 0 damage. He pointed at the screen and spoke in a low voice. If 1 round won't do, use 100, if ordinary warheads fail, use bigger yields. I refuse to believe anything can survive a saturation strike of 100 enhanced tactical missiles, we'll just erase it and the surrounding terrain from the map. Theoretically, yes. Zhang Zhongguo voiced another concern. Last time, merely deploying a thermobaric bomb drew their attention. If we launch 100 tactical missiles, every survivor base in the region will look this way. Moreover, he paused, his expression turning graver. From Monkey we can confirm this world still holds 4th rank, maybe even 5th rank, powerhouses. We know nothing about their strength. Since humanity hasn't wiped out the zombies yet. It means, at the top tier, humans are likely still outclassed, otherwise they'd have counterattacked long ago. Such a commotion benefits no one, human or zombie. Right. People who've endured the apocalypse and discover a peaceful world, what they might do is obvious. Yi Tian nodded in agreement. Understanding the lay of the land came first. He immediately ordered the communications officer beside him. Have him keep asking, does anyone in this apocalypse possess 5th rank power? The order was relayed instantly. In the interrogation room, the Shadow Blade warrior's voice sounded again. Does a 5th rank being exist? Monkey nodded heavily, awe flickering in his eyes. Yes. On the entire continent, only 3 survivor bases are confirmed to have 5th rank supreme powerhouses. Which 3? The first, and strongest, was Ziguang Base, built before the apocalypse under the military's leadership and heir to the nation's entire system. The other 2 were founded by 2 mighty 5th rank awakened who rose during the apocalypse itself. Their ideals clashed with Ziguang's, so each created his own power. One occupies the west, Heavenly Punishment City, established by the Thunder Emperor. The other dominates the south, Kanchong Fortress, founded by the Sword Sovereign. Ziguang, Heavenly Punishment, Firmament. 3 names representing the apex of post-apocalyptic human civilization, 3 kings atop the pyramid. Ziguang, Heavenly Punishment, Firmament. Inside the command center, Yi Tian and Zhang Zhongguo silently repeated the 3 names that stood for humanity's peak. Those 3 bases would inevitably become their ultimate opponents when they conquered this world. Especially that base called Ziguang. A colossus that had inherited the pre-apocalyptic state machinery. Inside it would be intact industry, research, military, even social mobilization systems. Its depth and potential were not something the other 2 bases, built around lone powerhouses, could match. Just then Yi Tian caught a key detail in Monkey's earlier words, energy crystals. Have him ask if those crystals that strengthen awakened can be mass-produced, or used to breed awakened in batches. Yi Tian ordered the comms officer. In the interrogation room the Shadow Blade warrior spoke again. Can energy crystals be mass-produced? Monkey instinctively nodded. Yes. At that affirmative, everyone in the command center perked up. What method? He pressed. Normally, top-grade crystals only drop from powerful special mutated zombies. Monkey explained. But there's another way. Use a device called an energy extractor to draw the thin energy inside ordinary zombies and condense it into crystals artificially. Energy extractor. The Shadow Blade warrior continued. Where can we get those extractors? Are they easy to build? Roughly how many zombies to make one crystal? I don't know about manufacturing. Monkey shook his head. Only a handful of major powers hold that tech. Efficiency depends on the extractor's grade. He gave an example. Our Fenwa Bases unit is the lowest grade, about 1,000 ordinary zombies to squeeze out one first-rank crystal of the poorest quality. But I hear the top extractors the big 3 use need only 100 zombies to strip every drop of energy. 100 to 1 ratio. Hearing that number, Yi Tian and Zhang Zhongguo felt a pang of regret. If they'd known those worthless-looking zombies were walking energy mines, they wouldn't have carpet-bombed with thermobaric bombs. What they'd blown up wasn't zombies, it was thousands of easily harvested energy crystals. Then the Shadow Blade warrior's next question swept every trace of regret away. Hold on, your Fenwa base has an energy extractor too. Yep. Monkey nodded. I need your base's exact coordinates. By now Monkey was a lamb to the slaughter. He spilled everything without holding back. From the Tyrant battlefield head west about 50 kilometers. You'll see an abandoned steel plant. That's our base. When those words came through the simultaneous interpreter into the command center, Yi Tian and Zhang Zhongguo exchanged a look. Both saw the same unmasked, hunter spots prey heat in the other's eyes. Seize it. They had to grab it and take it apart. If they could decode the tech, even improve it, they could pump out energy crystals non-stop for their zombies, Endermen, and the rest. letting them awaken mighty abilities in bulk. What terror would a modern army of super soldiers be then? Yi Tian had no intention of giving the crystals directly to the Chinese troops. The main fighting force would still be Minecraft mobs, so the mobs would use them. The soldiers could take enhancers to handle those stronger bodies. No more waiting. Almost in unison the two reached consensus. Uncle Zhang, let's toy with the tyrant for now, no strategic missiles yet. Yi Tian said decisively. Too much noise might alert the big three. Our primary target has changed. Starry Sky Base, underground training ground. Several fully mustered elite units, not yet sent to the other world, carried out the same dull daily drills. The zombie world was still in its infrastructure phase, it didn't need many fighters. Many warriors itching for glory felt their strength had no stage. Suddenly a piercing assembly siren blasted through the training ground. A clear order rang from the loudspeakers in every ear. 1st, 3rd, 5th Special Warfare Brigades, everyone, move to the Seoul Link Center immediately. Prepare for other world conquest. What? A mission. Great. Our turn at last. In an instant the whole ground erupted. Every soldier's eyes flashed with excitement. They geared up at top speed and sprinted for the Seoul Link Center, on a vast MC plane. Thousands of towering iron golems had assembled, radiating cold killing intent. Beside each golem stood 5 shadow blade warriors ready for battle. Overhead floated a flock of huge, drifting creatures. Yi Tian's will descended, issuing a terse order. Move out. Target. 50 kilometers west of the tyrant battlefield. Sir. Watching the evil spirits, Yi Tian smiled inwardly. Wonder what kind of devastation a dozen-ton iron golem can cause dropping from a kilometer up. The next moment, 5 shadow blade warriors stepped forward in unison and, together, hoisted a 30-ton iron golem clean off the ground. A flash of purple light followed. Whoosh! The 5 shadow blade warriors and the iron golem they carried dissolved into a huge cloud of violet smoke and vanished on the spot. This was their exclusive, utterly unreasonable, and downright brutal strategic transport method. Right behind them came the engineering enderman of the logistics branch, ferrying crates of ammo and mountains of gear. They too hugged their towering piles of supplies, turned into streaks of purple light, and disappeared. Weathered survivor base. Atop the watchtower refitted from an abandoned steelworks, one-eyed Brother Long pressed a telescope to his socket and anxiously scanned the eastern horizon. The thunder of artillery, even 50 kilometers away, still rolled across the land like distant thunder, proclaiming the carnage of that battlefield. He lowered the telescope and paced irritably. Why isn't that fool monkey back yet? He knew monkey's speed, even on foot the round trip of 100 kilometers should take 2 or 3 hours at most. Yet half a day had passed with no word from that side. A strong sense of dread began to coil around his heart. Could those newcomers be stronger than he'd thought? So strong that even an experienced scout squad like monkeys had been taken without a sound. The more he thought, the more restless he became. Hey! He barked at a nearby sentry, patience gone. Go tell every last brother below to stay sharp. No one wanders off, got it? Yes, boss. The man answered at once and turned to carry the order. But the instant he turned, he froze as if struck by a paralysis spell. His mouth fell open, eyes staring blankly at the sky. The hell? Didn't you hear me? Brother Long's temper flared, he kicked the sentry sprawling. The man tumbled, too terrified to feel the pain, and scrabbled upright, pointing skyward, voice twisted with fear. No, boss, the sky, look at the sky. Seeing that ghost white face, Brother Long's unease deepened. He jerked his head up, following the outstretched finger toward the cloudless blue. The sight stopped even his apocalypse-hardened heart for a beat. In the empty heavens, a dense swarm of black specks had soundlessly appeared. No, not specks. With the vision of a Tier 3 awakened he could clearly see cube-shaped, snow-white, ghost-like creatures. Their heads were perfect cubes, soft tentacles drifting beneath. What the hell are those things? Brother Long's mind went blank. A new kind of flying mutated zombie. Stop gawking. Sound the alarm, everyone battle stations. He roared at the dumbstruck sentry. The man scrambled down the watchtower as if granted amnesty. Brother Long kept his lone eye fixed on the spectral white swarm, suspicion and dread warring on his face. He narrowed that remaining eye, trying to see more clearly. Then he witnessed something even more bizarre. Atop each white cube creature, something stood. Giant metal behemoths. Several thousand meters up, among the clouds. 100 huge evil spirits floated, their signature infant-like wails lost in the high-altitude wind. On every evil spirit's flat crown stood 5 shadow blade warriors clutching a 31-ton war machine, an iron golem. This was the opening course China had prepared for the raid. Target locked, commence drop. At the command, the warriors atop the evil spirits released their grip without hesitation. Captain Yun Fei, his soul fused into the iron golem, felt his very spirit torn from its shell. Weightlessness. Pure, unsupported weightlessness. After a decade of piloting fighters and pulling every extreme maneuver, he had never felt a drop this raw, this unprotected. Wind howled past his ears, the ground rushed up at dizzying speed. 31 tons, supercharged by gravity, turned his steel body into a tungsten lance that could pierce anything. Even with nerves of steel, Yun Fei's heart hammered wildly. Exhilarating. Absolutely fooling exhilarating. So this is war in another world. Before the adrenaline rush could fade. The next moment. In Brother Long's horrified stare. Over 100 steel titans, like meteors from the heavens, plummeted straight down. Their target, the weathered survivor base below. Holy shit. When Brother Long realized the giants were coming right for them, only 2 words remained in his skull. They really were after him. And, what the hell kind of attack was this? An airborne drop. From several thousand meters. Yet worse was the speed of their fall. This wasn't free fall. It was the devastating acceleration granted to 31 terrifying tons by Mother Gravity. They tore the air with a shriek, swelling to fill Brother Long's pupils. An apocalyptic pressure, as if the sky itself were collapsing, clamped down on the entire base. Before the sirens could finish wailing. Before the numb survivors could react. The first iron golem arrived. Boom. A thunderous, earth-shaking roar. As the 31-ton steel giant slammed into the central plaza in an unstoppable, perfect landing. No explosion, no fireball. Just raw kinetic fury unleashed. With its landing point as the center, the half-meter-thick reinforced concrete ground shattered like a biscuit struck by a giant hammer, collapsing inward in an instant. A terrifying crater more than 20 meters across took shape with a thunderous boom. And that horrific shockwave, impossible to fully absorb, transformed into a ring of flying stone and dust, visibly expanding outward in every direction. Everything in its path, abandoned cars, flimsy tents, was shredded and hurled aside by the devastating wave. And this was only the beginning. Boom, boom, boom. Over 100 dull impacts exploded simultaneously in every corner of the base. The sky had fallen. That was the only thought in the minds of every survivor inside Fenhua base at that moment. Under their airdrop, the entire base's surrounding ground cracked apart. Countless floors were punched through, the few remaining buildings were instantly turned into deep pits. When the destructive shockwave finally faded, the dust blotting the sky began to settle. Amid that chaos, 2, over 100 scarlet lights slowly ignited within the thick dust. Lights devoid of any emotion. Brother Long's pupils shrank at the sight. Before he could react, clang, 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 heavy footfalls echoed from the smoke. The steel giants that had just wrought apocalyptic ruin stood unscathed, rising one after another from the craters they had carved. They shook off the dust, took heavy steps, and climbed out of the pits. Each stride made the ground tremble. 100 pairs of crimson eyes locked as one on Brother Long atop the watchtower. Being targeted by 100 monsters of this caliber sent a chill from the soles of the feet of even a Tier 3 veteran like Brother Long, forged in seas of blood. He still felt an icy dread shoot up from his soles. The tallest iron golem, controlled by Yun Fei, strode straight toward the watchtower. They're here for me. Brother Long instantly grasped their objective. He inhaled sharply, crushed his fear, and replaced it with cornered ferocity. With no further hesitation he stamped down. Boom. The watchtower's roof was smashed open. He shot skyward like a cannonball, then plummeted straight at the approaching iron golem. His speed left a vivid after-image, far faster than the guy called Monkey had ever managed. Yet Yun Fei's iron golem made no move to dodge the thunderous strike. Perfect. Yun Fei roared inwardly, utterly confident in this body of 4 solid iron blocks overflowing with brute power. He raised a steel arm thicker than a man's thigh and, without flinching, punched the airborne Brother Long head on. The next second, flesh and steel collided in the rawest fashion. Dong! A deep, bell-like boom exploded outward. A white shockwave visible to the naked eye burst from the point of impact. The recoil felt like slamming his fist into a speeding truck. An unstoppable force hurled Brother Long 10+ meters through the air. He landed and staggered back several steps before steadying himself. How is this possible? Brother Long shook his numb right arm, shock written across his face. I'm a Tier 3 awakened, this thing actually took my punch head on. Unwilling to accept it. Again. With a roar he turned into an after-image once more and traded frenzied blows with the iron golem. Dong! 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 A chain of heavy, terrifying impacts rang out. After a dozen punches Brother Long finally sized the monster up. Its strength was indeed weaker than his. Each exchange left him churning with blood. Yet the steel giant was also forced back step by step. What was truly terrifying was its near indestructible body of pure steel. Most of his power was negated by that adamant frame. Still, it's not invincible. Brother Long's eyes sharpened. After his barrage, hair-thin cracks had appeared across the golem's chest and arms. Just as he prepared to finish it off in one go. SSSHH. A purple spatial ripple flashed behind the iron golem. A shadow blade warrior appeared, holding a gleaming iron ingot. He gently pressed the ingot onto the fresh cracks marring the golem's frame. Something miraculous happened. The ingot vanished instantly. The cracks Brother Long had fought to open healed at visible speed and vanished. In barely a second, the iron golem stood pristine and undamaged once more. Brother Long froze, utterly dumbfounded. His face showed blank despair straight from the soul. You mean to tell me? He muttered, voice trembling. I nearly kill myself just to crack it a little. And your guy walks up, touches it, and in 1 second it's fixed. Watching the golem restored in a heartbeat, the fighting spirit he'd just ignited was snuffed out. His heart shook, lips quivered, no words came. By then the other awakened survivors in the base had regained their senses. They saw their leader Brother Long locked in a losing standoff with a steel monster. It's the boss. Quick, help the boss. The group shouted and charged toward him. But before they could cover the distance, the iron golem stepped in unison, forming an impenetrable wall that penned them outside. The battlefield was split once more. Only one-eyed dragon remained at the center, facing the iron golem slowly advancing under Yunfei's control. Still want to resist? Yunfei stared at the one-eyed man and spoke calmly. Behave and do as we say, and you'll live. You can talk. Brother Long was stunned again. He glared at the steel monster in front of him. Monkey and the others, did you take them too? Yunfei didn't answer. He simply repeated the line. I only say it once. Surrender, or not. The towering steel frame stepped forward, one heavy stride at a time. Watching those scarlet eyes draw closer, Brother Long felt a wild idea erupt in his chest. Hey, surrender. He chuckled, a sly glint flashing across his eye. Let's see if a lump of scrap like you can even catch me first. The instant the words left his mouth. Boom. The ground beneath him exploded into a crater. Without a shred of hesitation he spun and sprinted for the far side of the base. He'd already seen it. These things had monstrous strength and defense, but speed was their clear weak spot. He wasn't as fast as those speed type awakened, but he could definitely outrun a hunk of iron. Escape wasn't impossible. At the sight of his lightning-fast retreat, the iron golem Yunfei controlled simply halted, making no move to chase. Yet the sliver of hope that had just flared in Brother Long's heart was crushed the very next second. Directly ahead, both flanks, even overhead. Ripples of violet space flickered into being. Dozens of shadow blade warriors, armed with odd-shaped blades, spears and halberds, sealed every route of escape. Whoosh! One shadow blade wielding a long saber blinked in beside him and slashed horizontally. Looking to die. Brother Long reacted instantly, twisting to block with the energy-wreathed bracer on his arm. Just as he prepared to smash this thing that dared close in. The warrior vanished on the spot. At the same instant, a chill brushed the back of his neck. Another shadow blade, twin poison daggers in hand, had silently teleported behind him, stabbing straight for his vitals. The one-eyed dragon rolled forward, dodging the fatal strike. Before he could steady himself, Above, yet another shadow blade appeared overhead with a war hammer, bringing it down with mountain-shaking force. Again and again, the whole battlefield turned into a cat-and-mouse farce. Every second he faced attacks from several directions at once, each strike cunningly angled. He tried to counter, but the instant he locked on, the attacker would vanish, leaving him punching empty air. And in the split second his old force faded and new force hadn't yet formed. The next, then the next, assailant struck from an angle he could never predict. Inside the command center, Yi Tian watched the spatial ballet of slaughter on the screen, satisfaction in his eyes. Not bad. After only 2 days of training they can already coordinate tactically with the Enderman blink. Beside him, Zhang Zhongguo and the others stared, utterly captivated. This utterly unreasonable fighting style was a nightmare for any close-quarters powerhouse. Still, a pity. A trace of regret lingered in Yi Tian's mind. Mass-producing the body enhancement fluid still needs a bit more time. If they could drink it now, raising their neural response and dynamic vision another notch. He gazed at the screen, already picturing something far more terrifying. By then their coordination wouldn't be this crude several strikes per second level. It would be dozens, maybe hundreds, of Shadow Blade warriors launching simultaneous killing blows from every possible angle, 360 degrees without a single gap. Besieged by these ghost-like warriors, Brother Long, though battered, relied on a Tier 3 Awaken's monstrous body and battle instinct to weather wave after wave. Bang! He smashed a Shadow Blade who'd blinked in too late, the warrior's body dissolved into violet smoke midair. Yet 2 longswords from dead angles still left thin cuts on him. What a shame. Gasping, Brother Long frantically calculated. Those iron lumps with freak strength and defense can't keep up with me. And you speed demon ghosts don't hit hard enough to break Tier 3 defenses. He roared, partly to encourage himself, partly to mock the enemy. From the watchtower Yun Fei, viewing through the iron golem, let out a low, cold laugh. Idiot. Who told you we're here to kill you? Something specialized will deal with you. Yun Fei knew that with a Tier 3 Awakened shell that could tank artillery, whittling him down with cold weapons was nearly impossible. Their mission had never been to kill, only to delay, to keep him from escaping. Though trading blows with the Shadow Blades, One Eye kept most of his attention locked on the demon-like iron gloom standing motionless in the distance. That thing was the greatest threat in his mind. Seeing it hadn't pursued, he sneered inwardly. They must believe these ghost fly warriors alone could finish him. Right then, the battlefield shifted again. Every Shadow Blade simultaneously blinked back, breaking close contact. In their hands appeared odd-looking standard-issue rifles. BRRRT. Blink. Fire, blink again, fire again. An even more hopeless nightmare began. Brother Long could only watch bullets pour in from every imaginable angle. The instant he rushed toward one muzzle, the shooter vanished, only for shots to ring out behind him. Die. Spotting a Shadow Blade mid-reload, he exploded forward, a blur of motion, and pounced. Yet, 1 second before he could land the blow, the Shadow Blade warrior, together with his empty rifle, vanished from the spot. A heartbeat later, purple light flashed a short distance behind him. A brand new Shadow Blade warrior materialized as though freshly spawned, teleporting beside the first and handing over a fully loaded magazine and a dozen dark grenades. The entire sequence was fluid and flawless. Watching this, Brother Long's mind snapped. The nerves stretched taut by constant combat finally broke. What the hell, are we even still playing this game? He howled in hysterics. Steel monsters that repaired themselves in seconds were bad enough. Now even their ammo teleports in, an endless free refill. Before he could recover from the shock, the newly resupplied Shadow Blade warrior lobbed all dozen grenades straight at him. Faced with the threat of being blown to pieces, Brother Long's eyes erupted with savage light. He held nothing back and played his ultimate trump card. Super Alloy Body. Buzz. A strange energy wave burst outward, centered on his body. Skin, muscle, even bones were instantly drenched as if by molten metal, taking on a brilliant, mysterious silver-white sheen. Boom. 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 The dozen grenades detonated together. Terrifying shockwaves and flames swallowed his position whole. As the smoke slowly cleared, a man clad in dazzling silvery metal stood at the blast's heart, slowly lifting his head, unscathed. The black eye patch that had covered his right eye was shredded by the blast, revealing the hidden, extraordinary eye beneath. That eye was forged of flowing silver, an icy, haughty silver pupil radiating endless coldness and pride. Now, he spoke slowly, voice tinged with smugness. I am Silver Dragon. In the command center, Yi Tian watched the transformed figure on the screen, a faintly amused smile on his face. Chunabu much. He turned his head and asked. Uncle Zhang, when do the missiles arrive? Zhang Zhongguo pointed at another screen and replied solemnly. They're here. The evil spirits troops have airlifted the first batch of missile launchers above the battlefield. Deployment is ready at any moment. Good. Yi Tian nodded, a playful glint in his eye. I'd like to see what this so-called Silver Dragon can really do. What he was thinking was. Those strategic weapons aren't recommended at this stage. What if I simply hang 100 tactical missiles over his head without firing, let them drift there in plain sight? Anyone would shiver at that. On the battlefield, Silver Dragon raised his head, his silver eye sweeping over the expressionless Shadow Blade warriors encircling him. On those black monsters' faces he saw no emotion. No shock, no fear, only dead silence. Yet he misread that silence as terror. Good. He grinned, brimming with confidence. So you know you should fear me. Fearing the strong is only natural. Silver Dragon's arrogant, self-assured voice echoed across the ruins. He smiled, his gleaming silver-white body giving off a faint luster under the gloomy sky. The next moment, the ground beneath his feet exploded, and he shot forward like a dazzling silver comet, a shell aimed at the nearest Shadow Blade warrior. With absolute strength and speed he would crush these flies that hid in shadows, one by one. Yet, just as his silver flash was about to strike. Boom! A thick trail of fire, like a divine whip, descended from the sky and slammed precisely onto him. A violent explosion instantly swallowed him. When the flames and smoke faded, his supposedly indestructible figure re-emerged. He had blocked the falling shell with one arm, not a single scratch marred his silvery body. His other hand lightly brushed his forehead. Trying to ambush. Arrogance and confidence still filled his face. The Shadow Blade warrior before him hadn't teleported away. The warrior's purple eyes simply regarded him calmly, then slowly raised an arm and pointed skyward. Look above you. The cold voice reached his ears clearly. The ominous premonition in Silver Dragon's heart peaked. Frowning, he slowly lifted his gaze toward the sky now crowded with white specters. The first thing he saw was, the hell? A tank. His eyeballs nearly popped from their sockets. Atop each of those huge ghost-white cubic creatures now sat a main battle tank, its barrel still smoking. Tanks that fire while flying. Whose army is this? It completely upended every notion he had of the world's weapon systems. Yet what chilled his blood even more than flying tanks was the far vaster canopy above the white specters. Row upon row of gigantic missile launchers. All their launch racks were slowly elevating. Huge tactical missiles, bright red five-pointed stars painted on their warheads, quietly aimed at the ground below. Countless of them, filling the entire sky. At that moment the motionless titan of steel, like a demon god, stepped forward with heavy strides toward him. Watching the approaching steel colossus and the sword of Damocles overhead, enough to erase this area and his soul from the map. Silver Dragon dared not move. He didn't even dare think of running. No way. If those ghost-like black monsters suddenly teleported a missile launcher right beside him, he would be finished. Though his silver armor could easily take a few hits, a few hundred rounds would blast that super alloy shell into scrap rebar. In an instant he realized the only force on the continent with such vast, standardized firepower was Zigguang Base. Only that colossus, heir to the pre-apocalypse state, could wield such terrifying war potential. After all, the other two great bases, Heavenly Punishment City and Kanchong Fortress, are famed for their top-tier awakened fighters. Tech weaponry is their weak spot. Zigguang, it's Zigguang Base's people. The thought crushed the last shred of resistance in his heart. He raised his hands high. I surrender. I surrender. On the other side, the awakened pinned down by iron golem battalions heard their boss yield and threw their weapons away as well. We surrender too. Please, mighty Zigguang Base, take us in. In the command center, Zhang Zhongguo listened to the frontline feed and couldn't help laughing. Looks like they think we're Zigguang Base. Understandable. Yi Tian nodded. To field so much military hardware so easily, in their eyes only Ziguang Base, successor to the national system, could do it. He promptly issued the order. Go ask him where the energy extractor is, bring it back for study. On the battlefield, Yunfei piloted an iron golem to the resigned Brother Long. Brother Silver Dragon, right. No, 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 I dare not, dare not. Long quaked, dismissed his silver form, and hastily scooped a rag from the ground to veil that eerie silver eye again. He trotted over bowing, face plastered with obsequious smiles. Sir. See, call me Little Dragon. No, no, Little Snake is fine, just Little Snake. Yunfei nodded curtly. Take me to the energy extractor. Yes, 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 sir, this way, this way. Leading the way, Brother Long felt his heart bleed. The energy extractor was the very lifeline of a survivor base. Without it you couldn't steadily produce energy crystals, attract or train new awakened, the base would wither day by day. Yet he dared not resist. He glanced at the missiles still hanging overhead, and could only pray that his Tier 3 awakened strength might impress the Ziguang bigwigs enough to accept him. Soon, under his guidance, Yunfei and several iron golems reached a subterranean entrance deep inside the base. Down countless rust-flaked flights they arrived at a core vault 100 meters below ground. In the command center Yi Tian and the others, seeing through Yunfei's eyes, now beheld the energy extractor. A 5-meter-tall, brutally industrial glass cylinder. Inside it, a few common zombies, alive, furious, slapping the glass. Thick pipes ran from the cylinder to a half-meter metal canister beside it. In the small tank's top recess lay a crystal. Yet the crystal looked odd. Half gleamed a pure milky white with faint light, the other half still dull stone gray. Apparently the energy had only been half extracted. In the command center Yi Tian stared at the screen, satisfied. Crude, but it turned ordinary zombies into strategic resources. Prepare to haul it back to base. He issued the command without hesitation. In the vault, Yunfei received the order and quietly acknowledged. Yes. The muttered reply puzzled Silver Dragon. Who's he talking to? He studied the towering steel monster. No comm device in sight. No psychic ripple detectable either. The unfathomable method deepened his awe of these Ziguang visitors. Little Snake. Yunfei turned to ask. Anything special to watch when moving this rig? Ah. Oh. Silver Dragon snapped from his daze, shook his head, and grinned ingratiatingly. No, sir. It's built tough. When we dragged it here we knocked it about plenty. Pipes and tank are special alloy, nigh indestructible. Just carry it out. Good. Yunfei nodded. Move it to base. The instant the words fell. Several purple spatial ripples flickered in the vault. Shadow Blade warriors materialized beside the huge extractor. Without a word, two per piece, they hoisted the zombie-filled glass tank. And the smaller metal canister with the half-finished crystal, onto their shoulders. Purple light flashed again. With the priceless rig they vanished without trace. The whole move was fluid as water. Silver Dragon's eyelids twitched, he cursed inwardly. Hell, they even teleport when hauling stuff. What are these monsters? Once the gear was gone Yunfei turned toward the stairwell. Seeing Silver Dragon frozen, he looked back and urged. What are you waiting for? Come show me what other valuables your base still has. Why yes, sir. Silver Dragon hurried after him bowing. Yet when he climbed back to the surface and saw what the base had become, he was stunned senseless again. What the, have locusts hit this place? Where once stood a merely run-down base now bustled an all-out demolition site. Countless Endermen blinked in and out of every corner. Some raided the armory, sweeping guns, ammo, down to the last bullet, into their pouches. Where they passed, not a blade of grass survived. Silver Dragon's heart bled, his eye twitched wildly. These monsters left nothing. Even the 2 bottles of pre-apocalypse vintage he'd hidden in his office safe had been snatched by a cursed black creature that blinked away. Under Yunfei's guidance, Silver Dragon, like a walking corpse, led him on a tour of his own stronghold. When it was over, he stood amid the empty expanse pitted by iron golem fists. And atop the looted skeletons of buildings, he stared in a daze. The Fenhua base he had painstakingly built for years had been emptied in under an hour. They'd almost scraped 3 layers off the ground itself. Come with us. Yunfei's muffled voice pulled him back from the brink of stupor. Looking at those red glowing eyes and recalling the sky-born weapons of annihilation, even a vegetable would spring back to life. Silver Dragon let out a long, helpless sigh. He knew that from this day forth the so-called leader of Fenhua Base was history. All he could do was follow these mysterious, mighty visitors from Zigwang and gamble on an unknown future. He had no choice. Before absolute might, any resistance was a pale joke. Silver Dragon, once a tyrannical Tier 3 awakened over these wastes, now trotted like a docile lamb behind Yunfei, escorted by ghost-like Shadow Blade warriors toward the eastern battlefield. Meanwhile, inside China's outpost base, a cordoned-off open-air research zone had been prepared, where a special team of a dozen villagers had waited for ages. They were China's top research brains, possessing MC bio bodies and led by the academician. Each pair of eyes blazed, they whispered and argued fiercely, deaf to the earth-shaking battle in the distance. Suddenly, the air at the zone's center rippled. Several purple figures materialized out of nowhere. They were the Haller Shadow Blade warriors, gently setting the energy extractor on the ground. It's here. Quick, quick, quick. The instant the device touched down, the villager experts pounced like ravenous wolves. They circled the faintly humming machine, stroked its cold metal shell, their fervor almost spilling over. Inconceivable energy circuit design. This condensation method, sheer genius. Hook up power, start it, I need to see its internal logic. The greatest minds of China surrendered themselves to dissecting and reveling in another world's tech. Elsewhere, Silver Dragon was escorted to the outermost perimeter of the Chinese base. As he passed through the towering gate forged of obsidian, the vast alien sprawl of the base stretched beyond sight. He was utterly stunned. This isn't right. This can't be. Though he'd never visited the fabled Zigwang base, he'd heard it preserved pre-apocalypse architecture, a steel megacity of technology. But every building here was built of perfect, angular blocks. Black walls, gray watchtowers, everything exuded an otherworldly strangeness. A shocking thought slammed into him. He spun to the silent iron golem, voice hoarse. You're not from Zigwang base. A storm surged in Silver Dragon's heart. He had wondered why no awakened from the legendary Zigwang had shown up against him. But when he saw the sky full of tanks and missile trucks, that old state terror made him equate them with Zigwang. Now, had a fourth power, silent till now, emerged on these wastes with might surpassing the big three. Yunfei turned the iron golem's head, its red eyes regarded him calmly. When did I ever say we were from Zigwang base? The mild retort smashed into Silver Dragon's heart. He stared at Yunfei, then looked around. In the sky, white blocky creatures streamed toward distant missions. On the ground, unfamiliar nuclear-powered tanks and APCs bearing 5-star insignia rolled past like a tide of steel, heading for the still raging tyrant battlefield. Farther off, countless armed helicopters lifted into huge formations, also bound for unknown sectors. Endless war machines, an inexhaustible supply. A mobilization that could suffocate any power. Silver Dragon's heart sank into an abyss. A preposterous, chilling thought surfaced. This mysterious force's military might probably surpassed even the legendary Zigwang base. In the command center, Yi Tian glanced at the screen showing Silver Dragon's lost expression and looked away. A Tier 3 awakened no longer deserved his attention. The Fenhua sideshow was over and the energy extractor secured. Now they only needed to wait for the R&D team to crack its secrets and mass-produce the Type 1 body enhancement liquid. Then, on the zombie world front, absolute superiority was steadily stabilizing the war. Watching the orderly base building and hunting on the monitors, Yi Tian felt reassured. Uncle Zhang, we're done here. He turned to Zhang Zhongguo beside him. Have them keep catching ordinary zombies as fuel for the energy extractor while the science team dissects that machine. I'll go check on the enhancement serum progress. All right, Xiao Tian, off you go. Zhang Zhongguo nodded, concern in his eyes. Once that's done, get some rest, you've been at it too long. Yi Tian answered and walked away. In truth, where he happened to be made no difference to him. With his clearance, he could jump into the perspective of any MC bio at any moment and control the whole board. Still, he decided to visit the Biological Research Institute in person. Soon, accompanied by Chi Ming, Yi Tian arrived at the top-spec biology lab inside Starry Sky base that had been set aside for academician Yun Junhua's team. The instant he stepped through the door he saw Yun Junhua holding a vial of scarlet fluid up to the intense light, scrutinizing every change in its composition with absolute focus. Old Yun, how's the enhancer coming along? Yi Tian lightened his footsteps, walked to his side and asked quietly. Oh, Xiao Tian's here. Only then did Yun Junhua surface from his research. Seeing Yi Tian, a gratified smile appeared on his face. He cautiously passed over the vial in his hand and said, perfect timing, we've just finished debugging the first batch of the initial Type 1 body enhancement liquid. Yi Tian took the faintly warm reagent and gazed at the crystal clear fluid inside, surprised. So fast. So fast. Yun Junhua nodded, pride showing on his face. The technical dossier you supplied was simply too complete, too detailed. Every step, every parameter, was pinpoint, we barely took a single detour. Coupled with the base's cutting-edge domestic equipment, progress naturally sped along. When can mass production start so the soldiers can use it? Yi Tian asked the question that concerned him most. Yun Junhua pondered for a moment before answering. To reach the flawless mass production standard in the data you gave, we'll need another day or two for equipment run-in and process optimization. However, old Zhang dropped by earlier. His view is we can mass produce this initial version right now, get it to the troops in urgent need, and swap in the perfect version later. Oh. Yi Tian's interest was piqued. What's the difference between this initial version and the perfect one? According to our data model, the perfect version can raise every physical index of an average adult male by nearly sevenfold. Yun Junhua explained. With the initial version, catalyst purity is slightly off, so the effect drops a notch, to about fivefold. Fivefold. Even this discounted first edition was enough to drive any army on Earth wild. Understood. Yi Tian nodded, no longer interrupting them. Old Yun, carry on, I'll be off. Xiao Tian, get some rest too. Leaving the institute, Yi Tian boarded the car back to Qishan Villa. Inside the vehicle he took out his phone and casually skimmed the online situation. The instant he opened the news app, a bold, red highlighted push notification leapt out. Breaking. National Energy Administration announces another cut. Household electricity prices down 10 fen. 2 price cuts within a single day. This time global opinion was completely detonated. Domestic social media had turned into an ocean of jubilation. The die-hard paid trolls were now being crushed by countless patriotic netizens wielding every meme spell in the book. Boohoo, I was wrong. I don't wanna use Washa's cheap, stable electricity anymore. I wanna use my troll daddy's freedom and democracy power that randomly blackouts and jacks up prices. Please, troll bros, get me outta here. Upstairs, think bigger. From today, my AC runs 24/7, to boost domestic demand. Dude, your IP shows you city, 38 degrees Celsius average for the next 7 days. If you turn it off for even a second you're the champ, thumbs up. Then I lose. Thanks to the nation, I'm winning till it hurts. Sarcastic roast after roast mocking the trolls kept coming. And those trolls, faced with ironclad facts, could only rage helplessly, unable to stir a ripple. Meanwhile, in the international financial markets. New York, Wall Street, inside a top-tier investment bank's trading floor, bedlam. Gold's down again, another massive sell wave out of Asia. Shit. Did we trace the source? Who's dumping? Preliminary intel. Every sell order comes from different offshore accounts, but the money eventually points, faintly, toward Washa. Is it their central bank? Can't confirm, looks more like some of their big state-owned financials adjusting assets. In just one day, those relentless small hidden sell orders from Washa had quietly knocked nearly 3% off the international gold price. The drop wasn't enough to trigger market-wide panic yet, it sat within the upper band of normal fluctuation. But the unusual chill behind it had already set every top trader and institution to maximum alert. Major international financial headlines were quickly dominated. Reuters. Mystery selling wave hits gold. Asian chill sweeps market. WSJ. Gold's technical pullback seen tied to market expectations of upcoming Eagle Fed policy. Though mainstream analysts preferred to label the fall a normal technical correction. Everyone knew that beneath the calm golden sea, a terrifying undercurrent capable of whipping up monstrous waves was quietly brewing. Eagle Country, Treasury Building. Late at night, the ministerial office, usually silent, was ablaze with lights, the air stifling. Finance Minister Johnson Miller, gripping the red encrypted phone that connected directly to the top echelons of the world's major economies, was beaded with sweat. On the other end, Huasha's Central Bank and Ministry of Finance. Minister Wang, good evening, sorry to disturb you so late. Miller said, striving to sound both concerned and courteous, like a gentleman enquiring after an old friend. We've noticed some unusual movements in the global precious metals market lately. He chose his words with extreme care. I'd like to know whether your esteemed country is conducting a large-scale adjustment of foreign exchange reserves. If you run into any difficulties, perhaps we could offer some necessary assistance. The words were extremely tactful, but their core was naked probing. Yet what came from the other end of the line was China's trademark, watertight official response. Thank you, Minister Miller, for your concern. China's financial markets are functioning normally, foreign reserve structure is stable, and there are no difficulties. As for market fluctuations, we believe they are merely normal market behavior, part of the market's self-adjustment. Taiji, again that fooled, slippery Taiji. Every conversation with the Chinese is half an hour of Taiji that ends with nothing gained. After nearly 30 minutes of verbal tug-of-war, Miller had extracted nothing beyond a pile of, no comment, and, all normal, officialese. He slammed the receiver down, yanked his tie in irritation, and yelled at the anxious aides waiting in the office. CIA, NSA, have they turned up anything new? CIA headquarters. In an emergency briefing room the atmosphere was equally tense. Satellite surveillance reports. All known large vaults inside China show no sign of major transfers, everything normal. Cyber intelligence. Internal networks of China's major state financial institutions show no anomalies, capital flows conform to regular patterns. Economic Modeling Group. Based on all our open and clandestine data, China's fundamentals simply do not support a strategic decision to dump gold. It makes no sense, no logical sense at all. The string of bad news left every top analyst in the room feeling unprecedented pressure and dread. China, the Eastern Dragon they had always seen as prudent and cautious, now behaved like a madman, completely off script. Restarting coal plants and dumping gold. The two-pronged combo had left them dizzy, unable to read the intent. Fool these capricious guys. The meeting director, a grizzled veteran, slammed the table, eyes bloodshot with fear. What are they up to? This feeling of the unknown is terrifying. I have a guess. A young analyst raised a trembling hand. Could China be facing some severe, short-term liquidity pressure we simply don't know about? For instance, a super project in a field we can't monitor, burning through hard currency. That guess was the only explanation that sounded plausible. Across Wall Street, in countless blazing trading halls, chaos reigned. Market analysts had split into two camps. The bears. It's a signal, they're cutting gold for liquid dollars. Run. Gold's going to crash. But the mainstream bulls clung stubbornly to their faith. Short-term adjustment, this is just a short-term adjustment. Trust me, any official, non-panic sale is a once-in-a-lifetime buying opportunity. Gold's long logic, scarcity, inflation hedge, never changes. And the most sensitive, greediest global capital saw a blood-smelling chance in the chaos. The Chinese must be crazy, or in dire straits. Otherwise they'd never sell gold with inflation expectations this high. It's a gift from God, however much they sell, we'll take. Exactly, grab every gold chip in their hands. Let those foolish Easterners pay for their wrong decision. Under these whales, a powerful bid force surged against the tide, madly absorbing every gold offer on the market. Like brave knife catchers, they tried to catch the falling blade from the sky. Gold's decline slowed, even rebounding slightly at times. The market became a brutal battlefield of bulls and bears, flesh flying. Across the wider global web and public opinion, panic and unease spread like a plague. On international finance forums every post discussed the same topic. What earth-shattering move is China plotting? My brain can't take it. Could they have discovered a new super mine somewhere, big enough to upend the gold reserve landscape? Conspiracy theories flourished. I heard China cut a secret deal with some Mid-East power, gold for oil. No, the truth is they sense WWIII is coming and are hoarding cash for an unprecedented war. Outlandish guesses kept coming. Yet no one, no matter how bold, could touch the craziest, closest to truth core. Unlimited resources. The whole world trembled under China's seemingly contradictory yet supremely oppressive combo. Everyone felt an invisible hand gripping their throat. They had no idea what China's next step would be. They had no idea where the storm China had unleashed would take the world. That fear of the unknown was the deadliest of all. Like a golden noose, it was slowly slipping around everyone's neck. Deep into the night, inside the car heading back to Chishan Villa, all was quiet. Yi Tian leaned back in the plush seat, scrolling through his phone with relish, watching the online flame war sparked by China's moves. Nice, very nice. He watched with glee, the corner of his mouth lifting. So Yin Yang can be this cultured. Just then a comment made his gaze freeze and his brows knit. The user's ID dripped heavy sarcasm. China wins again. The comment itself was an offhand sigh. Winning every day, power prices down too. When will those huge deserts in the northwest turn into oases? If that happens, even housing prices will crash. Now that's what I call winning big. Desert, oasis. Seeing these words, Yi Tian suddenly thought of something in his mind. Bone meal. An item he had long forgotten, yet possessing near-creation power, instantly floated into his thoughts. The miraculous powder that can ignore growth cycles and accelerate any plant. I've been busy conquering another world, and I completely forgot these most basic, most buggy things in MC. Yi Tian muttered to himself, a sharp glint flashing in his eyes. Accelerate plants. If applied properly, this seemingly ordinary ability could be as strategically valuable as creating gold and steel out of thin air. His thoughts began to diverge uncontrollably. If, in the future, I get the chance to enter a cultivation or fantasy world, those top-grade spirit herbs and divine medicines that normally take tens of thousands of years to mature, I'll just use bone meal to accelerate them, compressing 10,000 years into a second, a million years, and then all of Washa would have endless elixirs. The idea made Yi Tian's heart race. Although he had previously tested bone meal on ordinary plants in the real world, whether it works on spirit-infused plants rich with spiritual energy of heaven and earth remains unknown. Nonetheless, this undeniably opened a door of infinite possibilities for his future development. In his reverie, the vehicle smoothly entered Chishan Villa. Yi Tian got out, and as soon as he stepped into the courtyard, he saw his sister Yi Xinline standing at the doorway, looking lively. Brother, you're back. The girl's voice was as crisp as a nightingale's. Yi Tian smiled and nodded, walking forward. How's it going? Did you buy everything after a day of shopping? Getting used to living here, right? Yeah. Yi Xinline nodded vigorously, a happy smile spreading across her face. Everything's bought. I also visited the new school today, it's the best school in the capital. The teachers said I can start classes tomorrow. That's good. Yi Tian reached out and habitually patted his sister's head. The Gaokao is coming soon. In this last stretch, just study peacefully, ignore everything else, and be ready. Don't worry, big brother. Yi Xinline pounded her chest, confidently promising. I won't let you down. This Gaokao, I'll definitely bring home a top 3 rank in the province. Alright. Yi Tian smiled and asked. Where are mom and dad? They've been shopping all day and are already resting. Yi Xinline glanced at the time. Brother, it's almost 11 now. You should go to bed early. Okay, got it. You do the same, go to sleep soon. Alright, good night, brother. Yi Xinline obediently said good night and turned toward her room. Watching his sister's back, Yi Tian's smile gradually faded. He turned and went outside the courtyard, standing beside Qi Ming, who was still faithfully performing his security duties. Brother Qi. Director, any orders? Qi Ming immediately straightened his posture. Help me contact the Forestry Bureau. Yi Tian thought for a moment. I need to find their highest-ranking official. Understood. Qi Ming nodded, then astonishingly pulled from his pocket a uniquely designed phone, its body forged entirely from black alloy. Yi Tian looked at the phone, puzzled. Seeing his reaction, Qi Ming immediately explained. Director, this was delivered by Elder Lee this afternoon. It was originally intended to be handed to you tomorrow. Inside, it stores encrypted direct line numbers for all ministries and the highest officials of every major region in our country. He paused, then added. Moreover, Elder Lee has personally issued the highest directive. Any command sent through this phone, no matter how bizarre, must be executed unconditionally and immediately. This also allows you to mobilize national resources directly whenever needed. Elder Lee thought this through quite thoroughly. Yi Tian nodded, increasingly admiring the elder's foresight. Brother Qi, you take it with you, we're all the same anyway. Yes. Qi Ming said no more, quickly found the Washaw Forestry Bureau entry on the phone, and dialed the direct line of its top official, Director Zhou Jian's line, in the capital's ministry-affiliated residential area. Nearly 50 years old and in his prime, the National Forestry Bureau Director Zhou Jian had just finished a busy day and was preparing to sleep. At that moment, a black encrypted phone on his nightstand, one he had never used proactively but kept in the most conspicuous spot, suddenly shook violently. Zhou's heart leapt in that instant. He stared fixedly at the vibrating phone, eyes filled with shock and excitement. He clearly remembered that earlier this afternoon, a central guard had handed him the phone. The guard, in an unprecedentedly solemn tone, gave him a death order. Director Zhou, from now on, this phone is the highest command. Whenever it rings, wherever you are, you must answer it. No matter what the caller demands, you must treat it as top priority and execute it unconditionally. He knew this matter was far from simple. He didn't expect the Supreme Command phone to ring so quickly. He scrambled out of bed and, with the fastest speed of his life, tremblingly pressed the answer button. Hello. This is the Washaw Forestry Bureau, Zhou Guo. As soon as the line connected, Zhou Guo announced his identity, his voice trembling with uncontrollable excitement and tension. On the other end, Qi Ming, after hearing the voice, respectfully handed the black encrypted phone to Yi Tian beside him. Yi Tian took the phone and said calmly. Hello, Director Zhou. Hearing the young voice, Zhou Guo straightened his posture and replied respectfully. Hello, what can I do for you? Deploy a batch of your most reliable people. Yi Tian's order was concise. Gather them at the location I'm sending you now. Then I'll give you a batch of special supplies. Your mission is to take these items to the desert and plant trees. Plant trees. Zhou Guo was taken aback. He had imagined countless possibilities, even preparing to lead the entire forestry system on a life-or-death secret operation. But he never imagined that the mysterious high-ranking figure holding the supreme command would call first just to plant trees in the desert. Though his mind seethed with unanswered questions, he dared not show the slightest disrespect. Snapping to attention, he replied at once. Yes, sir. Understood. I'll arrange it immediately and make sure we pick the finest team in the system. They'll be on standby. Yi Tian gave a flat grunt and ended the call. Brother Qi. He handed the phone back to Qi Ming. Handle the follow-up coordination. Have them ready to move. Yes, Director. Qi Ming nodded and set to work at once. With that settled, Yi Tian went to his room to rest. The next morning, 6 o'clock sharp. The instant the first ray of sunlight slipped through the lattice window, Yi Tian awoke on schedule. The moment he stepped out he caught the familiar, homely scent of food wafting through the air. His mother, Zhang Chunlin, wearing an apron, bustled between kitchen and dining room, setting plate after plate of lovingly cooked breakfast on the table. Mom, why are you up so early? Surprised, Yi Tian walked over. The compound has its own chefs, let them do this. Oh, I've nothing to do at home, idle hands are the devil's work. Zhang Chunlin turned, her face warm with affection. What, you think mom's cooking isn't good enough now? No way. Yi Tian sat smiling, eating the cozy breakfast, feeling the accumulated fatigue and tension melt away. After breakfast he bade his family a quick farewell. Mom, I've got to run. All right, go on, drive safe. Then he and Qi Ming set off once more towards Starry Sky Base. The moment they arrived, Yi Tian saw Zhang Zhongguo on the open training ground, excitement written across his face. In front of him stood several dozen elite soldiers in custom combat fatigues. Yi Tian and Qi Ming strode over. But as he drew close and got a clear look at Zhang Zhongguo, shock flashed across his face. The man before him, still every inch the imposing commander, looked a full decade younger than yesterday. The few white hairs at his temples were gone, replaced by jet black roots. The wrinkles on his face had softened, and vitality radiated from within. Uncle Zhang, you've gone younger. Remembering something, Yi Tian probed. Did you take the enhancer? Ha ha ha, spot on. Zhang Zhongguo laughed heartily, flexed his joints, and felt inexhaustible strength surge through him. Early this morning Old Yun's team finished calibrating their gear. The first batch of mass-produced prototype serum rolled off the line. Here, I saved one for you. He took a vial of scarlet liquid from an orderly and held it out. No need, Uncle Zhang. Yi Tian waved it off with a smile. I've already had mine. Oh. Zhang Zhongguo blinked, then saw the light. Recalling the blueprints Yi Tian had produced from thin air, he understood. So the kid had taken it long ago. Good, his safety was that much more assured. This stuff's a miracle. Zhang Zhongguo murmured, unable to contain his excitement. Take a look, see what terrifying levels our boys have reached. Following his gaze, Yi Tian turned to the training ground. Dozens of lean, tough soldiers were undergoing a battery of extreme tests. One was in the middle of dynamic reaction target shooting. Before him stretched a huge electronic screen that would, at random, flash dozens of red dots smaller than coins, each lasting under 0.2 seconds. His task? Nail every single one with his custom pistol in that split-second window. For an ordinary human it would be impossible. Yet. Bang. Bang. The soldier moved in a blur, arm whipping, muzzle spitting continuous flame. His eyes worked like a high-speed camera, locking onto every dot. His neural response far outstripped human limits. In seconds, all 30 dots flashed, and every one was drilled dead center. Nearby, a burly fighter slammed a specially reinforced punch force tester. Boom. A deep, dull crash. The tester, built of special alloy, groaned under the blow. The gauge spiked and froze at a staggering 850 kg. Far from superhuman tons, yet already dwarfing the heaviest recorded punch of any world-class heavyweight boxing champion. Weight lifting, high jump, loaded cross-country, combat dodging, every event smashed every physiological record in human history. Each trooper who'd taken the prototype serum now posted data 5 times beyond human limits. Strength, speed, stamina, dynamic vision, neural reaction, all of it. They were no longer merely human. They were true supersoldiers. An unstoppable, invincible legion of China was quietly being born in this secret subterranean base. To Yi Tian those shattering numbers fused into one wild, hellish idea. Watching these men whose strength and speed had left in quality, he couldn't stop the faint, chilling smile that curved his lips. Anyone who knew him would shudder at the sight. Zhang Zhongguo caught that fleeting expression. His heart lurched. He knew the kid had dreamed up another outrageous scheme. Xiao Tian. Zhang Zhongguo leaned in, voice low but eager. Got another good idea. Yi Tian nodded, eyes still on the training soldiers, and asked offhandedly. Uncle Zhang, has this enhancer been tried on the Enderman yet? The Enderman. Zhang Zhongguo shook his head. Not at all. We gave the first mass-produced batch to our own soldiers first. Let them try it too. After all, when we conquer another world later on, we'll mainly rely on consciousness projection to control those MC Bio. Boosting their strength is the real way to raise our overall combat power. Makes sense. Zhang Zhongguo nodded deeply in agreement. Without another word, Yi Tian simply willed it and summoned from MC a shadow blade warrior whose soul had just been linked. A flash of purple light, and the tall, slender Enderman appeared on the training ground. Commander, Director. The soldier possessing it, Yang Yi, snapped to attention and saluted. The two men nodded. Immediately Zhang Zhongguo handed over a brand new first edition enhancement liquid prepared for Yi Tian and gave the order. Yang Yi, use that body of yours and drink this vial. Let's see the effect. Yes, sir. Without hesitation Yang Yi took the faintly warm red potion and downed it in one gulp. The next moment, the Enderman's originally pitch-black body began to tremble violently. Visible streams of wild red aura, like steam, erupted from its surface. Its purple eyes seemed to be tinted with a crimson halo. The whole process lasted a dozen seconds before slowly subsiding. Did it work? Asked Yi Tian. The soldier controlling the Enderman, Yang Yi, flexed the newly explosive body and spoke in disbelief and joy. Report to Commander and Director. Success. I feel this body's strength has increased by a huge margin. Looks like it worked. Yi Tian nodded in satisfaction. Seeing the experiment succeed, Zhang Zhongguo grew even more excited. Xiao Tian, what exactly did you think of? Spill it now. Yi Tian smiled and willed again. Clang. A towering, oppressive iron golem materialized before everyone. Iron golem. Zhang Zhongguo stared at the familiar war machine, more puzzled than ever. Uncle Zhang, watch this. Yi Tian began explaining his underhanded idea. Iron golems have monstrous strength and defense, but they're slow and clumsy. Before, limited by power, we needed 5 Shadow Blade warriors just to drag one a short distance, far too inefficient. But now, one Enderman who drank the potion, strength multiplied 5-fold, can lift an iron golem single-handedly. Picture this. He spread his arms like an artist unveiling his masterpiece. A fortress with unbreakable defense and terrifying attack, granted the Enderman's godlike terrain ignoring limitless teleportation. What kind of monster does that become? Yi Tian mused to himself. Only I could come up with such an underhanded tactic. After hearing this, Zhang Zhongguo froze as if struck by lightning. His mind went blank for a moment. Seconds later he jolted back, trembling with excitement. That's a bloody genius idea. He swore, eyes bloodshot, staring at the iron golem and the Enderman as if at a perfect work of art. Pointing at the two wildly different beings, he barked. You two, right now, do exactly what Xiao Tian said. Yes, sir. Yang Yi, suppressing his thrill, strode up to the iron golem. He took a breath and wrapped the Enderman's now powerful arms around the golem's thick waist. Up. With a roar, the 31-ton steel giant was lifted effortlessly and held steady in his arms. Teleport. Attack. Show me everything. Zhang Zhongguo was completely fired up. Roger. Yang Yi focused his will. Whoosh. He and the iron golem vanished in a puff of purple smoke. The next second, they reappeared 100 meters away before an abandoned tank target. The iron golem, cradled in his arms, didn't need to move its legs. It simply swung its mountain-splitting steel fist. Boom. The multi-ton special armor tank was instantly reduced to scrap. At the instant the blow landed. Whoosh. Yang Yi and the iron golem teleported again, reappearing elsewhere on the range. The entire sequence was fluid, lightning fast. A killing machine with fortress-grade defense and siege beast destruction. A spatial assassin that ignores terrain, barriers, appearing anywhere on the battlefield. This was no mere tactic. It was perfection, a war god born for battle. On the field, the teleporting iron golem flickered in purple, each appearance bringing ruin. Zhang Zhongguo was in utter rapture. His battle-hardened eyes blazed, seeing the unstoppable future of China's forces. Ha ha ha, brilliant. A truly genius tactic. He laughed to the sky, clapping Yi Tian's shoulder hard enough to shake out his excitement. Spinning around, he barked at the orderly. Ship every first edition enhancement liquid we've produced to the Shadow Blade unit for priority enhancement. Then pair one soldier to one golem and start two-man team training immediately. Zhang Zhongguo stared at the still clumsy yet promising underhanded coordination on the field. Right now it was only basic lifts and strikes. But once they were fully trained. When the minds of the Enderman pilot and the Iron Golem pilot synced, every heartbeat, every reaction, every beat of the fight. What kind of terrifying, war history-making destructive power would that duo unleash? Zhang Zhongguo dared not think further, he felt his very blood burning with excitement. He dragged Yi Tian into the internal lift and rode straight to the Strategic Planning Division of the General Staff, several levels higher in the base. Immediately draft a brand new training regimen. Zhang Zhongguo kicked the conference door open and barked the order at the sharpest minds inside mid-war game. He laid out Yi Tian's wild idea of an Enderman hugging an iron golem into battle, in full detail, to these strategic experts. The room first sank into dead silence. Then came a chorus of sharp intakes of breath. Every officer present was a master of war. They grasped in an instant how this unreasonable tactical pairing could overturn every existing land warfare theory. Yes, Chief. The lead staff officer shot to his feet, eyes blazing. We'll start tactical modeling at once and deliver the most detailed, efficient joint operations training plan within 12 hours. Watching the elite staff whirl into action, Yi Tian and Zhang Zhongguo slipped away and returned to the command center. By the way, Uncle Zhang. Yi Tian glanced at the screen where the encirclement of the tyrant was proceeding methodically and asked casually. Did that fellow called Silver Dragon cough up anything useful? Quite a bit. Zhang Zhongguo nodded, his expression regaining its usual calm. The staff headquarters is cross-checking and deep analyzing his testimony. After all, his rank is far higher than that guy called Monkey, the intel is far more detailed and core. Oh. Such as the exact strength tiers of the 3 major bases, the ability system of high-level awakened ones, even some hidden secrets of this world. Once they finish the full report I'll show you. Good. Yi Tian answered, then raised the issue he cared about more. Uncle Zhang, is our satellite ready? The final data debugging is basically done. Zhang Zhongguo checked the time. The first test launch is scheduled for this afternoon. Finally Yi Tian's gaze fell on the heavily guarded energy extractor. How's the research on that thing? We're studying it while capturing ordinary zombies to extract crystals. As he spoke, Zhang Zhongguo took a sparkling, milky white crystal from a nearby safe and handed it over. Here, this is the first finished energy crystal they condensed with that machine. Yi Tian held the thumbnail-sized white crystal. It felt warm and smooth like jade, yet he sensed no special energy fluctuation akin to spiritual power. He handed the crystal back and said, for now, focus on decoding and reverse engineering the tech. As for its effects, pick an MC bio for testing, see if absorbing this energy produces any beneficial mutation. The moment Yi Tian finished, a staff officer from the general staff hurried in. He respectfully presented a freshly compiled encrypted file to Yi Tian and Zhang Zhongguo. It was the in-depth analysis and summary of everything Silver Dragon had confessed. Yi Tian took the file and skimmed rapidly. Most of it matched what the guy called Monkey had said, only far more detailed and accurate. The part highlighted in red was the most eye-catching, the precise coordinates of the 3 survivor bases. With this map, the entire continent's power structure held no more secrets for Yi Tian. Appended at the end was an inventory of goods seized from Fenhua base. When Yi Tian's eyes swept across, exoskeleton-powered armor, on the list, his brows knitted slightly. Exoskeletons. According to Silver Dragon, after the apocalypse, though social order collapsed, certain fields of technology experienced twisted, explosive growth. Survivor factions that had struggled for decades had naturally scavenged plenty of good stuff from ruins and bases. But now all those spoils had been fully taken over by China's research teams. They were sent to the top-level lab of Starry Sky Base for reverse engineering and study. With Fenhua base's fall and the slow grind on the tyrant front, the entire zombie world exploration entered a relatively calm development phase. Hundreds of thousands of Shadow Blade warriors scattered like chess pieces across the board. Their mission was no longer mere extermination but capture. On the outskirts of a city, in a derelict industrial park, hundreds of gaunt, aimless ordinary zombies shambled through the open streets. Suddenly, a faint purple ripple shimmered in the air. A tall, slender black figure appeared without warning behind one zombie. Before the zombie could react, strong arms had already wrapped around its body. The next instant, purple light flashed again. The Shadow Blade warrior, clutching the struggling zombie, vanished on the spot. Then, like dominoes toppling, purple spatial fluctuations flickered frantically across the park. Black silhouettes appeared, scooped up zombies, and disappeared, again and again. The whole process was silent, seamless, and chillingly efficient. The once sizable horde of hundreds began to shrink at a speed visible to the eye. In an instant, they were gone without a trace. Just as the area was about to be cleared, several sleek, hound-like mutated zombie dogs lurking in the ruins sensed danger and bolted for the distance. Yet the moment they showed themselves, whoosh! A Shadow Blade warrior teleported precisely in front of one. He slammed it out of midair and casually slung it over his shoulder. Stray dogs still at large. The warrior inside the body, via the comm channel, reported calmly. Scenes like this were playing out simultaneously in every corner. The once free-roaming, fearsome zombie tide had, at this moment, become nothing more than mobile mineral deposits in the eyes of the Shadow Blade unit. They were bagged and taken from every corner of the world, one after another, east side of the outpost base. A towering structure of pure obsidian had already risen from the ground. It was a colossal open-air cage covering tens of thousands of square meters, its walls dozens of meters high. At the top of the wall, a purple light flashed violently. A Shadow Blade warrior appeared on the parapet, a still shrieking zombie slung over his shoulder. Without so much as a glance, he casually tossed the zombie, like trash, into the cage. Plop! The zombie fell from a height of several dozen meters onto a cushion of countless others and was quickly swallowed by the churning horde. As far as the eye could see, tens of thousands of ordinary zombies were already packed densely beneath the cage. Only one fate awaited them. Once a high-efficiency energy extractor was built, they would be fed into it, every last drop of energy wrung from their bodies, contributing their final value to the rise of China. Of course, these ordinary zombies were just the appetizer. Every Shadow Blade warrior knew their true target. The special variants hiding deeper in this world, their bodies containing high-quality energy crystals. Tyrant battlefield. Deafening artillery had raged for an entire day. The 10-meter-tall, mountain-of-flesh Titan zombie was now stuck in the most stifling fight of its life. It had some brains, but not many. Yet enough to grasp the situation. It could tell that the sudden swarm of monsters, part steel, part living thing, and those circling overhead simply could not kill it. The shells that could turn reinforced concrete to powder only stung its rock-hard hide like mosquito bites, annoying but harmless. The enemy seemed to know this. Like tireless, fearless hounds they kept their distance, never engaging, merely harrying it. Endless barrages wore down its patience, pinning it to the battlefield. For the first time the tyrant felt the humiliation of being toyed with. It roared in fury, every sweep of its hill-splitting claws carved bottomless gouges into the earth. Every stomp triggered a minor earthquake. It possessed the power to annihilate everything. But it couldn't land a hit. Whether the nimble armed helicopters overhead or the nimble, coordinated nuclear tanks on the ground, its earth-shattering blows struck only empty soil. Just as its rage neared the boiling point, a still more hellish torment, one they'd kept up all day, began anew. Beyond the tank and helicopter net, purple spatial ripples flashed in dense succession. Tens of thousands of Shadow Blade warriors appeared behind the tyrant, each cradling an ominous red cube marked TNT. With mob spawner towers, sand generators and other redstone machines producing infinite resources. TNT, the ultimate MC killer, now cost China nothing. A war of attrition demanded refresh able, damaging MC resources. Start walking the dog. The order echoed in every Shadow Blade warrior's mind. The next instant, one warrior materialized less than 10 meters behind the tyrant, hugging a sizzling, lit block of TNT. He casually lobbed it at the monster's thick ankle, then blinked away to safety. Before the tyrant could recover from the surprise. Boom! A thunderous blast erupted at its feet. The explosion failed to break its freakish defense, didn't even make it sway. Yet the irritation of being nipped by an ant sent it into a berserk fury. It whirled, ready to tear the impudent bug to shreds. Only to meet. Whoosh! 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 Hundreds more TNT-carrying warriors blinked in from every side, dropped their gifts and vanished. Boom! 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 In an instant the tyrant's surroundings became a continuous bloom of fire and shrapnel. It could not land a blow. These slippery black devils were impossible to catch. Each swipe triggered titanic explosions and left craters behind. But the warriors always blinked away before the claws fell. Then, cycle after cycle, returned with fresh TNT to detonate at its heels. The fight had lost every semblance of a clash between apex predators. It had turned into one-sided, calculated humiliation. The tyrant, once the terror of survivors, a peak third-order monstrosity, was now like a New Year's dog beset by kids with firecrackers. All earth-shattering power, yet unable to brush a single enemy sleeve. Reduced to futile, enraged roars beneath an endless barrage of low-damage, high-insult blasts. Roar. After a full day of non-stop TNT harassment the tyrant finally snapped. It abandoned all attack, stood rooted, letting the insulting explosions wash over it. Ever since these black creatures had first appeared yesterday, They had traded heavy artillery with it like civilized foes. Then, for no reason, switched tactics. No longer trying to kill, they trapped it here with this shameless guerrilla game. A sudden mutation erupted. BZZZT. An invisible, unique sound wave surged without warning from the far horizon. First to bear the brunt were the Shadow Blade unit on the outermost perimeter, tasked with reconnaissance. The black silhouettes that had been flickering nimbly a moment ago were swept by that intangible wave. Without the slightest omen, their bodies froze rigid. Then, within a single second, they were simply blasted apart. No struggle, not even a sound. They were just dead, gone. The terrifying wave traveled at extreme speed. It streaked past the tyrant at the battlefield's center, leaving him untouched, and swept toward the wider area beyond. In the sky, circling evil spirits and armed helicopters. And on the ground, assembling nuclear-powered tanks. Be they airborne or earthbound, anything brushed by that invisible sound perished in the same instant. Starry Sky Base, Soul Link Center. The huge chamber, silent moments earlier, exploded into chaos. Tens of thousands of hibernation pods were force disconnected. The lids sprang open like a startled beehive. More than 10,000 Chinese soldiers who had been immersed in the another world battlefield sat bolt upright, as if breaking the water's surface. They gasped raggedly, faces blank with shock. What happened? Quick, medical teams, every medical team to your stations. Check vitals on all warriors. Doctors and nurses on standby surged forward like a tide. The soldiers returning from death wore bewildered looks. What was that? I didn't feel a thing, just died. A special ops member who had been piloting a Shadow Blade soldier said, brow furrowed. Exactly. No warning, no attack, everything went black, then I woke here. A tank driver chimed in. Same for us. We were flying, then, gone. Everyone spoke at once, yet every story pointed to the same eerie truth. Instant kill. An instant kill whose source no one could even identify. The medics, results came back quickly. Soldiers who had taken the first-gen enhancement liquid were drained and pale but basically unharmed. Those who hadn't yet taken the drug looked frail and were carried off on stretchers to observation lounges. Command center, atmosphere grim. Everyone stared fixedly at the main screen. A cluster of surveillance feeds had gone black at the same instant. They cut out simultaneously. What's going on? All of them, wiped out. What level of attack is this? Some colossal zombie we don't know? Or some natural disaster unique to this world? Countless questions rang in every mind. Strategic analysts of the staff headquarters pulled the last-second data and began frantic modeling. Yi Tian, watching the eerily familiar scene, knitted his brows. Memory flashed back to the time before he ever approached the state. Right after he gained the system and first entered this zombie world. Something similar had happened. He had seen nothing. Taken only a few steps with a zombie, then blacked out and died. At the time he'd blamed bad luck, some hidden, ultra-powerful zombie. Once the main force arrived, the freak deaths had ceased. So he'd pushed the matter aside, assuming the creature had moved on. Never had he imagined that today, at the climax of the tyrant siege, this terror capable of erasing tens of thousands in a blink would return. Inside the command center, the sight of near-total annihilation struck everyone speechless. Zhang Zhongguo's face was heavy with consternation. He instinctively turned to Yi Tian for insight. Seeing Yi Tian's knitted brow and that flicker of recognition, he asked at once. Xiao Tian, do you know something? What is this? Yi Tian gave a nod, then a shake, his expression graver than ever. I know a bit, he said in a low voice. When I first got the portal and entered this world, I died countless times right where we now have our base. Each death was identical, no warning, nothing seen, just erased. He paused, then continued. I couldn't leave that zone, which is why I asked the country for help. Yet once our large force came in, the killing stopped cold. I figured some powerful zombie with a special domain had wandered off during our absence. But today it's back. So I still don't know exactly what it is. His words drew a collective gasp. The unknown enemy's terror had surpassed imagination. Analyze immediately. Yi Tian ordered the tech team without hesitation. Use the first casualties as anchor points, build a coordinate model and back calculate the wave's origin. Roger. The operators sprang into action. The command center's supercomputer roared to life. A huge 3D city map bloomed on the main screen. Tens of thousands of red dots blazed across it. Each dot signified a freshly slain MC bio unit. Data model constructing. Reverse calculating trajectory from millisecond death deltas. Calculation complete. A huge red circular ripple, expanding outward, appeared on the display. The strike had indeed radiated in all directions from a single point. Tracking the wave's spread. The technicians soon pinned down the source. To an uncharted swath of darkness on the map. The sonic wave has dissipated. A technician reported. Its spread vanished completely about 5 kilometers from our outpost base, never touched the base itself. Zhang Zhongguo ordered at once. Have the Shadow Blade unit garrisoned at the base sortie immediately. Head that way and conduct an armed reconnaissance. Yes, sir. Inside the outpost base. The Shadow Blade warriors unaffected by the wave received the top-level directive from the command center. Without hesitation they vanished from the base, flashing toward the tagged epicenter at top speed. Yet mid-teleport they soon spotted something even stranger. Right there, on streets swept clean by the sonic wave, ruins that should have been empty began to sprout scattered zombies crawling out of every rubble pile. These zombies seemed utterly unaffected by the terrifying sound. More importantly, they were no longer shambling aimlessly, instead, as if drawn by some mysterious summons. They all lurched in the same direction, toward where the sound had come from. Headquarters, we found large numbers of surviving zombies advancing toward the wave's origin, looks like they're massing. The squad promptly relayed this startling discovery back. Inside the command center, Yi Tian's eyes flickered with doubt at the news. So the wave didn't attack zombies, yet wiped out our troops. Interesting. Since it's drawing every hidden zombie out, perfect. He opened the comm channel and issued new orders. Squad, keep pushing into the center and find out exactly what that thing is. All other garrison forces, move out now, net every zombie this thing flushes out. Don't let a single one escape. Roger. With Yi Tian's order, the deep penetration squad ignored the pilgrim-like columns of corpses around them and continued racing toward the core at maximum speed. Meanwhile, tens of thousands more Shadow Blade warriors and MC Bio troops poured from the outpost base. They began frantically scooping up the zombies that had delivered themselves to the trap. Watching the zombie tide swelling on every monitor, the capture teams all had the same thought. You walked right into this yourselves. Inside the command center, Yi Tian had originally wanted only to locate the mysterious sonic source. But now, if I can get my hands on whatever's producing that sound, I could trigger it once, act like I've switched on a mob-attracting artifact, lure every zombie over and wipe them out in one go. At the thought even someone of Yi Tian's composure felt his blood burn. These walking energy crystal mines were the most precious resource of all. Yet just as he was about to order the scout squad to reach the source at any cost, he recalled the nightmare of his rookie days, being insta-killed over and over. Before, that eerie sound had never been a one-off. After the first blast a second and third would follow in rapid succession. It was that relentless chain of erasures that had left him without a chance to react or flee. Hold on. Yi Tian's expression shifted in an instant. He barked an emergency order into the channel. All units advancing toward the center, pull back immediately, top speed. The several Shadow Blade squads already deep inside the city core, though puzzled, triggered chain teleports the moment they received the command, racing back toward the base. Xiao Tian, did you spot something? Zhang Zhongguo had barely asked. When? Boom. The invisible sonic wave thundered past again. Fortunately, Yi Tian's order had come in the nick of time. Relying on the Enderman's absurd teleport range, the squads, with heart-stopping timing, snapped back into safe territory one heartbeat before the wave hit. Watching the simulated ripple sweep across the screen, everyone in the command center broke into cold sweat. It's back. Yi Tian stared hard at the display. Keep analyzing, lock down its exact coordinates. The tech team at once used the second wave's data for a far more precise triangulation. A flashing red coordinate quickly appeared on the 3D map. It marked an unexplored spot outside the city, ringed by mountains. Uncle Zhang, don't send anyone for now. Yi Tian studied the mark and spoke in a low voice. From what I've seen, this sound will keep firing at random for a full 3 days. Anything non-zombie that nears that zone during those 3 days gets erased instantly. While the officers were still talking. Rumble, rumble, rumble. A thunder of countless stampeding feet, savage and chaotic, shook the distance. Roars rolled in from every direction. Switch to the outer perimeter feed, now. The screens flicked. Tens of kilometers beyond the base, city edges, open plains, even forested hills. Endless zombies were surging from the horizon like a tide. Every last one heading for the same spot, the source of the mysterious sound. Ordinary walkers mixed with agile zombie hounds, airborne mutants wheeling overhead, even hulking giants the size of tyrants. It looked as though the zombies had declared the start of a grand banquet. Watching that sky-blotting swarm, enough to drive any survivor enclave to despair. The staff in the command center felt no fear, instead. Every face flushed red, eyes blazing with excitement. Yi Tian's voice shook as he gazed at the endless resources on legs. Is this heaven? A zombie tide. This is providence, heaven helping Washa. He spun and roared at Zhang Zhongguo, who was quivering just as hard. Uncle Zhang, move. Rally every unit we can scrape together. Round them all up. Good. Zhang Zhongguo slammed the command console, eyes blazing with unprecedented fervor. What they feared most wasn't the number of zombies. What they feared most was how scattered the zombies were, forcing them to hunt and capture bit by bit. Now, this terrifying wave of undead triggered by the sonic wave looked to them like a feast delivered right to their mouths. Yi Tian immediately addressed the crowd. Engineering Corps, right now, using the sonic wave's maximum spread as your radius. Build me an obsidian perimeter wall. Keep every attracted zombie outside, not a single one gets through. At the same time, hold that sonic wave center at all costs. Protect it so it keeps drawing in more undead for us. Soul Link Center, activate every standby pod. Notify the rear, pull every training batch of reserve troops, link them up and send them straight into battle. And start building more centers in the real world, immediately. Orders issued. The entire war machine of China mobilized at a terrifying, unprecedented efficiency. Several field armies that had been rotating through training were rushed to the Seoul Link Center the instant the Supreme Command arrived. 100,000. 200,000. Intel a full 300,000 fully armed Chinese soldiers lay in the pods, transforming into a steel torrent capable of crushing anything. They surged into that other world now hosting an apocalyptic carnival. And this was only the beginning. Behind them, still more Chinese troops streamed in from every corner of the motherland. Converging on the starry sky, Beijing, Central Office. Elder Li had just finished reviewing a file on Northwestern economic development and was about to stretch his legs. Suddenly, the red phone symbolizing top priority emergencies rang out, shrill and jarring. At the same moment, a flashing warning popped up on his encrypted terminal. Sender, Starry Sky Base. Priority, SSS level, Supreme War Mobilization. Content, request unlimited military personnel and war materiel nationwide. Elder Li's gaze sharpened the instant he saw the SSS level tag. In those eyes that had weathered countless storms, usually calm as still water, a rare flicker of surprise appeared. What major event had happened at Starry Sky Base to warrant the nation's highest war mobilization order? Previously classified merely SSS, now an outright SSS level requisition. Yet he didn't hesitate for a second. He placed 300% trust in Yi Tian, and in that divine cornerstone for all of China's future. Xiao Jiao. He calmly pressed the internal call button on his desk. Outside, a brisk young aide pushed the door open at once. Chief. Go ask Starry Sky Base what exactly is happening. Elder Li's tone was level. Also, pass the word, since Starry Sky Base has issued an SSS level requisition, meet every demand. Full cooperation. Yes, sir. Orders spread to every corner of China in seconds. Top commanders of every major military region received, simultaneously, the supreme directive that made their hearts skip a beat. What? Starry Sky Base issued an SSS level requisition. They need even more men and supplies. Have we officially gone to war with another country? Countless speculations flashed through the minds of generals still unaware of Starry Sky Base's true purpose. They'd assumed the first few 100,000 elite troops sent earlier would be enough for any contingency. Who could have guessed an even larger, more terrifying mobilization would follow so soon? But soldiers live to obey orders. No one voiced a doubt. No one hesitated for a moment. The instant the command arrived, China's vast national machine, the slumbering Eastern Dragon, fully awoke. Lights blazed on in barracks across the land. Train after train packed with hot-blooded warriors roared from every direction toward Starry Sky Base. Giant underground arsenals saw their sealed gates flung wide. Crates of bullets, tons of explosives, rows of missiles, massive stocks of war materiel, were loaded non-stop onto heavy trucks. They merged into steel convoys racing toward Starry Sky Base. All night long, China quietly entered its highest state of readiness. Ordinary citizens, still celebrating the latest electricity price cut, knew nothing of it. Yet within the state apparatus, a force capable of shaking the world was assembling at breakneck speed: zombie world. The sonic wave feast raged on. Across the vast plain about to be submerged by the tide of undead. A grand project had already begun. Shadow Blade Engineering Corps had piled massive amounts of obsidian, transported from MC, just outside the sonic wave's maximum range. Raise the wall. At the command, tens of thousands of Endermen hugged heavy blocks of obsidian and began madly printing the wall at lightning speed. Countless purple figures flickered between ground and sky. Black ramparts hundreds of meters tall and massively thick shot upward, visibly stretching outward on both flanks. Meanwhile, the newly linked 300,000 Chinese soldiers appeared inside the outpost base. The avatars they controlled were, for the most part, Endermen, the fastest, best choice for large-scale construction jobs. With many zombies near the sonic center already cleared, only stragglers answered the call. The main horde was still some distance away, giving the troops ample prep time. Hurry, get all the TNT out. Yi Tian's voice sounded in everyone's mind. Outside the obsidian wall, blast a deep isolation trench to split ordinary zombies from special mutants. Yi Tian figured these mindless common zombies couldn't even find a path. A deep pit would be more than enough to trap them. Separating the specials would make targeted cleanup easier. Yes. 300,000 Enderman warriors, without the slightest pause, the instant the order reached them, sped toward the front line. Behind them followed a dedicated logistics brigade of 5,000 Endermen. They had only one task: to cradle shulker boxes stuffed full of TNT. Keeping tight behind the main force, they would provide an endless stream of fire support powerful enough to flatten everything in its path. Soon the army of 300,000 arrived behind the obsidian wall that was still madly extending. Without stopping, they crossed the wall and reached the planned construction site, 40 kilometers short of the sonic wave's edge. The air rippled with dense purple rings. 5,000 supply Endermen materialized silently across the vast plain. They bent down and placed the purple shulker boxes they carried in perfect unison upon the ground. In an instant, 5,000 MC-style purple blocks formed a continuous violet line across the earth. Task complete, the Endermen did not linger. Their figures flashed and vanished without a trace, returning to MC for the next supply run. The moment they left, the 300,000-strong main force that had already reached the front sprang into action. Silently they moved to the purple shulker boxes. At their command, the tightly shut boxes gave a soft click, their lids rotating open like petals. Inside lay TNT crammed to the brim. Every shulker box held a full 27 stacks, 1,728 blocks of TNT. 5,000 boxes meant 8.64 million TNT. And this was only the first batch. Originally we wanted the engineering department to build heavy bombers and carpet bomb the zone the way we did the vacant sector. Inside the command center, Yi Tian watched the impending display of violent aesthetics and shook his head with a wry smile. But now those bombers' pitiful speed looks like a Stone Age toy compared with our teleporting human bomb droppers. On the battlefield, 300,000 Endermen began frantically pulling endless TNT from the shulker boxes. Action. At the command, half of them, fully 150,000, hoisted TNT blocks and, with a flash, became a sky-filling purple mist. The next moment, on the broad plain 40 kilometers beyond the obsidian wall, they appeared simultaneously along a huge pre-planned circular track. They set the TNT on the ground, drew flint and steel from their inventories. Click. With a crisp sound, 150,000 TNT blocks were ignited at once. Without a backward glance, the 15,000 Endermen flashed back to safety. Immediately. Boom. No words can describe the spectacle of that moment. 150,000 TNT detonated simultaneously. A fire ring dozens of kilometers long leapt skyward across the plain. A terrifying shock wave swept madly in every direction. When the blinding light and rolling smoke finally cleared, a scorched circle several meters deep and wide had been branded into the soil of another world. The first blast had merely carved a foundation trench. What followed was a truly mountain-moving, sea-filling work of the gods. Second wave, deploy. At the order, the remaining 150,000 standby Endermen sprang into motion. Carrying fresh TNT blocks, they teleported into the newly blasted ring-shaped pit. They packed the TNT tight at the bottom, lit the fuses, and teleported away again. And so, two groups, 300,000 Endermen in all, worked like twin never-tiring machines, beginning a frantic cycle. Deploy. Light. Teleport. Boom. Explode. Deploy again. Light again. Teleport again. Boom boom boom. Heavier, deeper blasts pounded the ring-shaped trench over and over. The world seemed left with nothing but that single monotonous roar. Under this utterly cost-befooled bombardment, the trench raced toward the planet's core at terrifying speed. 10 meters. 30 meters. 50 meters. 100 meters. When the final flashes of TNT died away, everyone was stunned by the sight before them. Across the plain now yawned a bottomless chasm tens of meters wide and 100 kilometers long. It split the earth cleanly in two. Sheer walls of rock showed distinct fault lines, scorched black throughout. This was China's first moat against the coming tide of corpses, the instant this abyss wall was finished. Whum! The mysterious source at the center emitted a third pulse without warning. An invisible wave swept past once more. This time it harmed not a single unit on China's side. Meanwhile, behind the obsidian line a far larger war host was assembling. Rumble, rumble, the earth shook. Out of the portal rolled hundreds upon hundreds of the latest main battle tanks, refitted with nuclear power. Their thick composite armor gleamed beneath the sky. 10-meter long, vicious main gun barrels lifted toward the heavens, radiating killing intent powerful enough to crush anything. Behind them came thousands of infantry fighting vehicles likewise driven by nuclear engines. And hundreds of mobile fortresses, rocket artillery whose hulls bristled with dense launcher nests. Freed of human limitations, most modern war machines can be outrageously upgraded into bespoke slaughter tools for MC creatures. A ground torrent of steel and ruin, enough to erase a medium-sized nation from the map, kept gathering. Above their heads, blotting out the sky, over 3,000 up-gunned armed helicopters and tens of thousands of colossal evil spirits used as aerial aircraft carriers swarmed like storm clouds, sealing the heavens. Beneath their wings and between their tentacles, they carried a dense array of bombs, thermobaric bombs and cluster incendiaries, enough to plow the land below dozens of times over. An unprecedented, absolute sense of oppression from a mighty industrial civilization enveloped the battlefield of this other world. Real world, outside Starry Sky Base. A steel dragon of military heavy trucks glided to a silent halt outside the heavily fortified secret entrance. The doors opened without a sound. Tens of thousands of Chinese soldiers in varied camouflage combat uniforms, faces etched with a resolve far beyond their years, stepped out. In perfect unison they leapt down, swiftly forming square after square on the open ground. They hailed from every corner of the country, belonging to different military regions, different ace units. Yet now, the same light glinted in their eyes, absolute obedience, and a trace of bewilderment at the unknown. Reporting. 32nd Mountain Combined Arms Brigade, Northern Theater, entire brigade arrived, awaiting orders. A brigade commander bearing the rank of senior colonel, his face weather-worn, strode to the base sentry, snapped a crisp salute, and barked in a thunderous voice. Follow me. The guide guard offered no superfluous words. Turning, he led the elite troops through the gate into the unknown. After passing layer upon layer of dazzling security and decontamination checks, when they finally reached the vast subterranean Central Assembly Plaza, even these veterans of great spectacles were deeply shaken by the sight before them. Across the immense plaza, comrades from every major theater command already stood in tight, endless ranks. Marines of the Eastern Theater, Jungle Commandos of the Southern Theater, Snow Lions of the Western Theater, an ocean of men, badges flashing. A rough count put the first wave of Chinese soldiers gathered here at well over 100,000. At the forefront, upon a raised platform, stood General Zhang Zhongguo, his figure as immovable as a mountain. Looking at the young, resolute faces below, he could not help but feel a surge of emotion. Thank heavens they had reserved enough space when designing Starry Sky Base. Otherwise the hundreds of thousands still pouring in would have had nowhere to stand. Even so, the Seoul Link's center deeper inside was undergoing frantic expansion. Row after row of standardized connection pods snapped together like building blocks at breakneck speed. One bed after another, fitted with basic life support and medical monitors, was rapidly brought online. Comrades. Zhang Zhongguo's voice rang clearly in every ear through the loudspeakers. Welcome to Starry Sky Base. The first thing you must know, from the instant you crossed our gate, none of you may leave again, unless China rises supreme. A stifled ripple of shock surged through the 100,000-strong formation below. The second thing may shatter every conviction you've held for decades. Zhang Zhongguo's gaze turned razor sharp. We need you to enter a brand new, alien other world. To fight, to carve out a future for China and an everlasting foundation for our civilization. Another world. The two words detonated like a blockbuster in the hearts of the soldiers. Shock, horror, disbelief, countless emotions mingled on their faces. Of course. Zhang Zhongguo's tone shifted. Before you enter the battlefield, we will use cutting-edge tech to enhance you in the shortest possible time and teach you entirely new combat capabilities. But understand this, for now, you are not the main force. The true tip of the spear consists of comrades already skilled in otherworld warfare. Your task is to cooperate with them unconditionally in vital, specialized tactical operations. Silence gripped the plaza as his words ended. Yet within seconds, shock was replaced by something fiercer, the innate ferocity of soldiers. So what if it's another world? So what if the enemy is unknown? So long as it is for the nation and the people. Even mountains of blades and seas of fire hold no terror. Understood. Hundreds of thousands roared in unison, shaking the heavens, then followed guides in batches toward the newly built Seoul Link Center. Along the way, sights greeted them that stunned them even further. Gigantic transport vehicles rumbled endlessly out of deeper tunnels. Aboard them, hundreds of fully automated, sci-fi-looking close-in weapon systems. And monstrous, fortress-like war machines whose like they had never seen. Everything moved with extreme efficiency. And every last item was bound for the same destination, the huge, vortex-like portal glowing mysteriously at the plaza's center. When the first transporter, loaded with dozens of close-in guns, slowly rolled into the purple light. And vanished without a trace before every eye. Every passing soldier instinctively held his breath. Their faces darkened slightly. Though they feared no sacrifice. This terrifying, no-holds-barred mobilization, and the super weapons that even they found chilling, told them the foe they would face surpassed anything they could imagine. This was a battle that brooked no failure, a war for the very fate of their civilization. A solemn yet heroic fire ignited in every heart. The newly arrived hundreds of thousands of Chinese soldiers, hearts shaking, lay themselves one by one into the hibernation pods. Under Yi Tian's personal guidance, their souls were drawn forth and injected into the MC Bio shells long since prepared. Then this mighty new force of MC Bio surged through the portal and poured into the zombie world. Outpost Base, Institute of Materials Science. It had become a sacred playground for mad science. Silver Dragon, once a mighty Tier 3 awakened, now sat rather helplessly in a specially forged metal chair. Around him clustered a flock of villager scientists in plain robes, their noses comically large. He had been duly promoted to their star research specimen. Still, these folks hadn't done anything too outrageous, only asked him to activate his super alloy body on schedule each day. Then they scraped a tiny sample of that miraculous silvery metal off him for study. Incredible, absolutely incredible. A materials academician held up a sliver of silvery foil to the high-energy spectrometer and marveled aloud. Its atomic lattice is a previously unseen, perfectly stable structure. Hardness, toughness, energy conductivity, all exceed any alloy we know. What if? Another specialist's eyes blazed with fanaticism. Once we crack its composition, we graft it onto an iron golem, what then? The bold idea sent ripples of excitement through every scientist present. Exactly. Iron golems are sturdy, yet against Tier 3 plus foes their defenses still fall short. If we coat one with this super alloy armor, its combat power would leap to a whole new plane. Voices rose in fervor as every gaze swung toward the resigned living sample, Silver Dragon. One specialist stepped up and, with utmost gentleness, asked, Mr. Dragon, could you explain the principle behind your super alloy ability? Silver Dragon eyed the odd yet insatiably curious villagers and, not daring to hide anything, answered honestly. It's by absorbing energy crystals. After I absorbed large quantities of them, my body gradually gained the power to assimilate metals and convert them into this super alloy form. Absorb crystals, assimilate metals. The experts silently chewed over those two keywords. A bolder, and crazier, idea surfaced simultaneously in every mind. If we let an iron golem absorb energy crystals too, could it awaken a similar power? And it's not just this alloy. We've tested obsidian, its physical defense is near absolute. No conventional kinetic or energy weapon can scratch it. If we could make a golem absorb obsidian, turning it into an obsidian iron golem, it would be truly invincible. At that thought every scientist's breathing turned ragged. They all knew that, mighty as iron golems were, they remained fragile against genuine high-tier enemies. Which was why Yi Tian had given the Materials Institute a non-negotiable mandate from day one. Start with the iron golem, spare no cost to forge it tougher armor and sharper weapons. And now they seemed to have found the road to a godlike body. Elsewhere, inside the Bioscience Institute, the air was equally taut with tension and anticipation. Yun Junhua stared gravely at the hologram before him. It showed gene chains magnified hundreds of millions of times, intricate helices twining. These genes had been extracted from a Tier 3 strength-type zombie and several captured lightning-fast Tier 2 mutated zombies. Found it, right there. Yun Junhua pointed to a crimson-tinged gene segment that clearly differed from the rest, voice trembling with excitement. This rage gene is what lets these zombies smash biological limits and gain such terrifying strength and speed. Immediately, he turned to an assistant and ordered, contact a soldier front lining in a zombie body and bring him here. We're attempting our first cross-species gene fusion. Yes, sir. The assistant hurried off. Right now, though an unprecedented war was brewing on the front, backline research still held top priority. Every request had to be fulfilled instantly. Soon a green-skinned Chinese soldier piloting a zombie body strode into the Apex Biotech lab. Academician Yun Junhua personally drew a syringe of crimson gene fusion serum from the gene vault. He took a deep breath, stepped to the zombie soldier, and slowly injected the agent into its vein. Every gaze locked onto the soldier. With iron golems and endermen as the main force. Zombies, lacking stats, lacking mechanics, barely even qualified to fight. Clearly needed a different kind of upgrade. The instant the scarlet serum finished entering the zombie soldier's body, mutation erupted. Roar. A bestial, pain-racked howl burst from the soldier's throat. His previously calm frame convulsed violently. Under the green skin muscles writhed like living things, dark veins bulging across his body. Overload, his energy readings are spiking. Academician Yun Junhua saw the bio-monitor's needle slam into the red and his face paled. He barked at the Shadow Blade warrior on security. Get us out, now. The Enderman guard reacted in a flash. The instant Yun spoke it teleported, space flickering as, in several jumps, every researcher rematerialized hundreds of meters away in the safe zone. And the moment they vanished, the rage gene-injected zombie underwent a cataclysmic, terrifying transformation. His 2-meter frame began to swell and shoot upward. Higher, ever higher. Thanks for watching.